Welcome, everybody, to a Delco Nerd Network podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Ragucci, and here with a few friends from the Delaware County area. We get in the basement and we talk about a certain topic. Today's topic, let's talk about PlayStation. But before that, here to discuss, as always, let me introduce you to my co-host, the Triple Threat, Christopher Pasquale Trio.
Oh, Gooch, I'm coming out of my mind fog. We just had a spectacular discussion about Joker Folie à Deux.
Yeah,
and,
were you disillusioned?
I was disillusioned. I was in a delusion with you, our shared delusion. But now I'm excited to talk about some PlayStation. But how are you doing?
Are you excited? Are you excited to talk about PlayStation?
No, I actually am. It's funny because like when we first discussed this, I think especially with the PS5 Pro review, I was definitely more leaning towards the negative side. I still think there's a lot of negative to be had. I'm probably not going to be as negative maybe as I was after I've kind of simmered on a lot of it for a while, but I am excited to talk about it because we did the Xbox podcast, so I think it was only fair to do the sister podcast and what's going on with PlayStation.
And it was funny when we were setting up, I was thinking, once Switch 2 gets announced, we should probably do a Let's talk about Nintendo.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
I think that would be interesting because we don't talk about a lot of Nintendo on the Delco Nerd Network. We're mostly in Xbox, PlayStation, I guess you can say PC,
somewhat
oriented podcast. Nintendo is definitely our blind spot, but we get it in when we can.
Absolutely.
But again, welcome to the Delco Nerd Network podcast. We are pleased to have you here. Before we jump into our topic, we like to, shoot the shit. What have we been up to, playing, watching, doing, whatever. Trio, do we want to tell the folks about the big snafu that happened that we've been correcting in the past 2 or 3 weeks?
Oh, yeah, we can.
Do we want to talk about that?
Correct. I mean, we can. I don't know. It's fun. It's not that major. Yeah, I just sure, why not? Let's fill it in. Yeah, so Gooch, one day he messaged me and he's like...
What was I doing? I don't know what I was doing.
Fiddling with the links for some reason,
I was watching a YouTube video from a channel I watch, and they had posted a Discord link, and the Discord link didn't work. And that spurred me to be like...
Hey, let's give this a double peek.
I was like, I don't think it necessarily spurred into do our links work, but I'm like, I think I thought about our links, and I was just clicking around.
Sure.
And then I discovered that a lot of our links that were in our descriptions, some of the stuff we've just had there for years, like the like links to Spotify and Apple Podcasts, did not work anymore. And we had been posting these for months.
Further back than even the year. So like it's Gooch texts me. I get a random message from Gooch, just like, dude, we got a big problem. And honestly, like this is a big problem for sure. But I don't know why I expected when you texted me that, like, we lost, like, a Red Dead episode.
Which
I was just like, oh, fuck. Because, like, that's really annoying to reschedule. Like, but this was very close to that annoyance for sure for me. I know it's definitely a big deal.
Yeah. It was more like, damn, we have to spend some time to, like, correct this
And
issue.
I do need to get back to it. I haven't been able to do that in the last week because, honestly, I just keep forgetting. But we are back up to this year. We're back to like November.
Yeah, so we pretty much had to go through all of our podcasts on YouTube and the website and just correct the link.
Yeah.
Like I was kind of hitting a point where like we're going back to when we got the table because I feel like that's the DNN era that we're currently in.
Yeah.
Everything older, like it probably gets dicier the farther we go back because we might have changed like the descriptions and how we format everything. So basically we kind of like thought about this. It's like, okay, like every year or half a year, we probably need to do an account of like what's
Are the
going
links still
on.
good?
Are the links still good? Do we need to change anything?
Yeah.
Yada, yada. Just do some more damage.
A little due diligence.
Control on, just the things that we not necessarily take for granted, but that are not a thought in our brain.
I was gonna say, it just didn't occur to us
at all.
Yeah.
And I think like one of those things is like maybe updating the end screen that we have for the podcast because it is old, very old. It was made when Tim was still here.
Wow.
And like I know we've kind of been going back and like even like the website, we redid last year and just things that have just been like, again, like not neglected, but like forgotten about because they're not as
could use a bit of a facelift.
Right. Yeah. And I was thinking, I was like, yeah, maybe I should like update that.
I
but
agree.
yeah, that's the latest on
in the technical sense.
Yeah,
What's
going on the podcast. I thought it was just like, maybe we should bring it up. And again,
So now the links are all good.
links should be working.
Yeah.
The Discord stuff, I updated the Discord link. That's what I noticed. The Discord link wasn't working all of a sudden. I was like, wait, I thought it was like a never expired link.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh shit. Yeah, so I had to update that on, pretty much everything.
Wild stuff, but I'm glad you caught it. Appreciate it. Because
Yeah.
from now on, we're good. At least until we check again and double check.
So yeah, what do you...
What
Go
I've been
ahead.
up to,
Go
playing, doing.
Whatever.
I stupidly didn't get a chance to write down some stuff, so I am going off the top of my dome here. Did I talk about Rebel Ridge last time I was on here?
Rebel Ridge?
Okay, I did not.
I don't know what that is.
It's a Netflix film. That is actually by the same guy. What did he make? It's very good. It's about this dude. He's traveling to like this kind of podunk town to
What's that word?
podunk, like
fuck does that
country, like backwoods.
Podunk.
Yeah,
Okay.
that might be a fake word that I just created. I'm pretty confident I've heard it before. Anywho,
Podunk.
he's in the backwoods of, I can't remember where, like a Louisiana type, and he's traveling on a bike to go get his brother out of prison. He has a bag full of cash to pay his bail, and the cops fuck him up and, rough him up and just, are messing with him and take all his cash. And have you ever heard of civil forfeiture?
No.
So,
We're using some big words.
we
today.
are. Civil forfeiture
words.
is something I had not heard of before. I actually had heard about it from like John Oliver way back, but I had forgotten about it. It is a process by which a police officer can confiscate large amounts of cash that you have on you that they suspect is for doing a drug deal or for illegal means.
Sure.
And basically they, like, if it's above like 20 grand, like they can just be like, I think you're going to a drug deal. It's my cash now. It's going to be taken to the department and you have to basically appeal for it to get your cash back. So that happens to him at the beginning of this. The cops are just fucking with him, going not way over line. They like run him off his bike because he has his headphones on and they've been following him for half a mile or whatever. And it's kind of him dealing with this just corrupt and awful county. He is a Marine of some sort. I can't remember the guy's name.
Who's in this?
That Aaron dude that I posted, who's actually in the running apparently for John Stewart.
That guy's face is... it just bothers me.
It bothers you? It's almost like
he has big eyes.
He does. He looks like a stat. I like it. He's staring into my soul. But he is fantastic in this. He plays like some type of ex-Marine, John Wickish type of movie, but not nearly as like action heavy. It's a bit more character focused and dialogue. There are definitely some action scenes and stuff like that. But I kind of thought it was going to go the easy way of like themes and kind of what we're dealing with now. And I don't know. He's a black dude showing up to a southern town, and it's these bunch of white cops. And like, I think you could easily play that in a very like straightforward and uninteresting way, but it doesn't end up being literally like we don't
take too kindly to you, got it.
But it's much more layered than that and gray, and I appreciated that. I thought it was a very well done, laid out story, and I would definitely recommend it. I can't remember what he did. I'm gonna look it up when you're going because I think he's a notable director. He did the guy who directed Rebel Ridge, but. Yeah, definitely check it out. Other than that, I've just been gaming mostly. I've just been working my way through Outlaws. I'm almost done. I won't get too deep into that, considering we'll do the review soon. But
yeah, I'm still playing through Outlaws too. And yeah, like I feel like the first time I probably talked about it last month very briefly, but I'd rather just save most of the thoughts for
totally. Right now,
well.
I'm overwhelmingly enjoying it for sure, but I will be sure to elaborate on that when we get to the podcast. Continuing on with Kingdom Come Deliverance, as I know you just finished, right?
Yeah. I just finished Kingdom Come, and I'm now in achievement grind mode, and it's a bit difficult.
Interesting.
Some of the achievements are a bit of a pain in the ass.
I can imagine.
One of them is you have to pick like 10,000 flowers, which is actually easier than you think. You just kind of have to find the locations with a bunch of flowers, and you auto pick up like 1,000.
Right. How can you auto pick up? Or is that part of your herbology thing? Or
I don't know. I think when you pick up herbs, it also picks up some around.
Oh, interesting. That's cool. Yeah.
I had to kill 20 people in stealth. You have to kill 50 people with a headshot.
Oh. Yeah.
So basically, what that means is you have to find bandit camps, stealth in, knock them out, and then shoot
just
them in the
headshot
head.
all of them. Yeah.
Or you take the chance of
just
waking
trying
them
to do
up.
It. Yeah.
Yeah, there's
sounds tough.
another achievement where you have to do a 100 combos, which I barely did any like legit sword combos. Like I think we were talking about this when I was like, I don't know if I'm good at the game because I am not doing these combos you unlock when you level up long sword or hunting sword or mace.
Yeah,
like,
I almost remember them. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like I don't remember them. Like I'm not like they're dodging. You have to connect those hits. Like I wasn't doing them. So I don't know. Like I would love to see somebody who's playing who is just like executing these combos willingly. So for that, you just have to do, go into training with Bernard and just do it. And it's still difficult to pull it off.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because like he still fights like a normal NPC, but he just doesn't kill you.
Yeah. Yeah, I could imagine the tourney would be good for that if you want to do it like live action, of course. But
yeah, probably. Another one is you have to get like a high reputation with all the towns. So like by the time you're done the game, your reputation is very hard to increase. You have to do like haggle and buy things with vendors, and you have to fast travel between locations. And if you find a skirmish with guards and you help them kill the cumans or the bandits, you get a rep up. But like if there's quests you haven't done, like that's the way to do it. But like, you can kind of fuck your rep up unintentionally. So like I have to level up Mirahad, whatever it's called.
Merhoyed.
And Sasau. And I'm like I was like trying to do it, and I'm like, the skirmish isn't popping up in the RNG when I fast travel. Yeah. And I'm like, it'll figure itself out. So then I kind of go do another.
You just kind of got to grind it.
Yeah,
right?
I'm doing like every session I try to do like 2 achievements and then stop. I'll eventually have to do like a hardcore playthrough, which is permadeath.
I've heard that's pretty tough. Doesn't the compass? Don't you not show up on the map or something too?
I don't know. And I'm like gonna knock a few different ones out at the same time, like not killing people, being celibate, not having sex in a playthrough. That's an achievement.
Funny,
there's an achievement to get Privoslavets all the way done without learning how to read. So that'll be like once hardcore is done.
How do you even do that? Like,
I don't. Honestly,
you wouldn't even be able to read
guides.
Right, because you just have to like
you just
look
know.
At,
right. Yeah. And I'm just like, damn. I'm like, how do you? I'm like, yeah. I feel like learning to read is kind of like a fun
that was like
thing
one of the first things that I did.
Know how to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, there's a few other achievements like that. Some miscellaneous stuff that I missed that I can easily get on the second playthrough, but. Hopefully I will be done by the time Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 comes out. But
yeah, it's a really fun game with a lot of interesting and different mechanics. I gotta admit, I really do like the idea of the fast travel system. We talked about it before. Overall, it's fun. You do feel the jank in it for sure in a lot of ways. Like everything.
The combat is, I think, just the main issue.
So I will admit, Gooch, it's grown on me, weirdly enough.
Yeah, I like the combat. I just don't think it's like, again, it feels like Skyrim where it's just kind of floaty.
Yeah, I don't even think that's necessarily my issue. It's just more that like they are realistic to a fault with it in the way of, and we've talked about this before, I think off podcast, where if you have 3 or more, if you have 2 or 3 people attacking you at once, you're fucked. And that's because this is a pretty realistic game, and that's probably what would happen in real life for the most part.
But if they're not wearing armor, you
didn't fuck them up.
Yeah,
so I don't know. I think it's actually somewhat well balanced in that way, especially when you're kind of shooting for realism. But I agree with you with the combos. I don't use them that often. But I do get in a pretty good rhythm of like blocking, hitting, blocking. I don't use dodge at all. I feel like it's very useless. I don't know how to time it very well. Like the step, like the side step.
Yeah.
But I've been really enjoying it. Like I said, the jank is there for like when you're like walking out of Rat's Eye and you see everything clipping in. Like the top of the bathhouses, the trees are coming in, like people's scarves are appearing on their neck and they're appearing. Like I'm definitely noticing that pretty heavily within it. But it was made by a somewhat small team, right? That's not a huge studio.
Warhorse Games.
Yeah, I think it's a relatively small team
at the time.
I think what they did with what they had is really fantastic, and I can't wait to see what they expand on in Kingdom Come 2. And I'm excited to finish. Feels like it's been going on for a while. One other thing I actually have been playing, which has been very interesting, Gooch, and I might have mentioned this on the last one, but I've been going through all the Splinter Cells. I started with Chaos Theory. So
that's the first one?
That's the second one. It's
funny. Is
funny.
Double Agent the first one?
No, Double Agent's the third one. It's after Chaos Theory is Double Agent. And then after that, it's Conviction. So I played Chaos Theory, I just played Double Agent, and I played Double Agent, and I just finished Conviction. I'm gonna get around to God, what is the last one name?
Blacklist.
Soon. But
So how's that going?
It's been very interesting. It's kind of wild to see the series grow gameplay wise, especially from Chaos Theory, which is hardcore stealth.
That's a series I have never played.
Those aren't, especially those first couple, those aren't stealth action games. Those are stealth games, and I love it. You are kind of trial and erroring your way through the map. You know, it's a lot of loading and saving, as those games kind of tend to be. I think it's a severely tight game, Chaos Theory, for how old it is. But then when you get to Conviction, it's almost like a John Wick game in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I was
going to
say, it becomes like a...
much more action-oriented.
360 PS3 action game. Yeah.
Like kind of cover shooter with some heavy stealth elements. Like the tagging and executing, which is used in Outlaws, funnily enough. Like it might have been used in something before this, but I remember it being a major part of this game where you execute and then you have your tag and execute meter that fills up once you do. So, you know, you're kind of working your way through a room of enemies, taking one person down, marking 4, taking them all out, taking another guy down. It's a fun game of chess for sure, but it's definitely not the stealth of the past. And you can see that course correction in Blacklist. It's much more of a return to form for that game, especially with your goggles. I mean, you don't get your sonar goggles until like the 8th mission in that game, and there's probably 15 missions.
Blacklist?
Yeah, no, in Conviction. You probably don't get it till like maybe 50 or 60% of the way through the game, which feels a little weird because you're just Sam, who's retired, who doesn't have any connections anymore, and on the mission that you finally go into third echelon, you get them because you're trying to find the leader of third echelon in there. By the way, I took a picture of it and I meant to say, I hope it's still on my save thing. The third echelon like HQ lobby in that, I'm like, oh, Avengers stole this. Like it's literally like the exact almost same lobby as like SHIELD and I think Winter Soldier, like with the kind of sloped glass and the big statue in the center of the room, and it's this big
with the logo.
Dude, I'm telling you, man. I'm like, did someone just fucking steal this? It's wild. But
someone was playing fucking Conviction.
Splinter Cell Conviction. And yeah, that was the
like,
last.
You should do this.
Yeah, that was the last performance by Michael Ironside. I think he's completely done with the role. We have.
Is he?
He seems to be. So his last interview.
I know they're doing the anime, and he's not in that.
That's Liev Schreiber, the brother of Pablo Schreiber, which I was completely unaware of. Master Chief. I didn't know that at all.
I don't think I knew that.
Dude, I had no idea. Which is terrible because Liev Schreiber is a great actor. And I think, you know, if you're going to get rid of Michael Ironside, Liev Schreiber, it's a pretty good move because he's got a great
But they're giving you
voice.
everything but a new Splinter Cell game.
That's the other thing. If they bring him in and actually have him voice him in the game, I think that would be awesome. Liev Schreiber, I think that would work. And I would like that.
Maybe they are leading up to that.
Because the guy who plays him in Blacklist, he's not bad. It's just not there.
You know, they you know, in the same vein as that, you know, they're doing the Tomb Raider Netflix animated show, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, it looks very Castlevania.
It's out next week.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to it. Didn't realize it is after Shadow of the Tomb Raider. It's canon.
Oh, interesting.
Haley Atwell is voicing Lara Croft, and
Lara
I'm
Croft
curious,
looks like a muscle mommy. I'm in.
Is she going to be the next voice for her in the game?
I mean, Gooch, I've said this 1,000 times.
I imagine whatever they do is going to be like I don't know. They're going to maybe I don't know.
Well, they're
if they're
doing like a reboot-ish type deal, right? Wasn't that the last rumor we heard?
Yeah, but I don't know what that means.
I agree.
Does that mean like the Survivor timeline is canon? Like, what are we doing?
I still think one of the biggest mess-ups.
Or part of that?
For sure. I still think one of the biggest faults that Ubisoft ever made with Assassin's Creed was not making Michael Fassbender the new main character in the games. Like, I think that would have been...
That couldn't have lasted, you know that.
Well, for sure, but if... hold on, I think if it did well and it worked well, I think that could have lasted.
Well, coming in for a game would have been cool. I agree with you, but I don't know how long they would have been able to sustain.
I didn't realize... So I was watching... Sorry, very random side tangent, quick. I was watching Mr. Sunday's breakdown their Caravan of Garbage for Assassin's Creed, and I didn't realize how much, like, creative...
The movie?
Yeah. I didn't realize how much creative sway he had in that. Michael Fassbender.
Is he a fan?
He apparently was. Like, he apparently was involved
like a lot
to a
of us
degree.
were.
Yeah. And yeah, he had a good amount of sway in that. I mean, his producer came on, the guy who directed Macbeth was his choice to direct the movie, and he got it.
That's a movie I would want to. You know, we've talked about this, but we get
movie
a rewind review.
I think
really
different video game movies of the past, I think, would be a fun one.
Yeah,
for sure.
I mean, we've talked about that.
We have,
That's
yeah.
what I wanted to be my next thing, but we do have something cooking in the pipeline. I'll leave that teaser there for now.
Absolutely, a little sizzle. Other than that, though, I just started Resident Evil 8 again last night because.
Weren't you and Dylan talking about it?
We were.
Dylan gets a lot of shout outs on this.
He's the man. He's super active in the podcast.
He's very active on our Discord. And we'd like to see you, viewer, active on our Discord.
Absolutely.
You can join that in the description below, and the link does, in fact, work.
Absolutely. But Dylan, we appreciate you. It's always fun chatting. But Village, man, I haven't played it since it came out. I didn't realize it came out 3 years ago.
I haven't played it yet.
You haven't played it yet?
No.
Right.
I'm going through all the RE
I forgot.
games,
Oh my god!
My next game is 6, the infamous.
That's so funny.
Giraffe.
So you never played 7 either?
No.
Wow, I haven't played 7 since
I'm
it came
looking
out.
forward to
Dude, that's fun,
it.
man. Okay, so yeah, wow. So a fantastic game. I forgot how much fun it is. The hard.
Did you play the DLC yet?
No.
Okay,
so it's.
okay.
I was thinking.
Is that what you're leading up to?
I'm hoping it goes on sale this month and I can get it. I didn't realize the third person mode
October.
was bundled in it, which is kind of sad. But man, I forgot how gorgeous that game is. Like that RE engine. I mean, you see it with 4, of course. Like. Everyone just looks awesome. The environments look so great. Everything looks moist
Dragon's
and terrible.
Dogma 2 used the RE engine.
Yes, and I think that game looks amazing too. But it's just moody. It's disgusting. It's creepy. I mean, after playing Resident Evil 4, it is absolutely an homage to that game. Like in so many ways. I mean, we talked about it on
like when Chris shows up at the end.
Well, when Chris shows up, but even just the setup, like for sure.
He doesn't show up. I don't know why I said that.
Well, okay.
I don't know. Chris Redfield does not show up in RE4.
Like, sure. I'm sorry. I was talking RE8. My bad.
I don't know. Like they're just like let's bring it. Like I mean, if Leon came in, that'd be I don't know. What am I saying?
It's more like Leon is just shows up at this random crazy village and all this shit is happening.
Oh yeah.
RE8's very much that, but it takes it to 10, especially with all the different monsters and when you get into the castle, there's these terrible, awful vampire hags. Ethan Winters. I think his voice actor.
The voice actor who plays Asterion is Heisenberg.
Oh really?
Yeah, that makes sense. That was one of his first more known roles. He was Heisenberg.
Ethan's voice actor, man. He's really good. Like he puts some fucking oomph behind it and you feel it and I appreciate it. I feel like voice acting like that really shines through, especially when it's good, because you can tell when someone's phoning it in or just doesn't really quite understand how to voice act. I don't know how, like it's tough to put your finger on, but you can always tell. But other than that, Gooch, I don't think really anything. Shows wise, I have not started Penguin or Agatha all along yet, but I will be getting
I have not started Agatha either.
It's getting some positive buzz.
I guess I'm gonna have to do that because we're gonna have to review
We are gonna have to review it. We're not doing Lord of the Rings. So
yeah, we actually talked about it and we were like, Lord of the Rings of Power finished. And we're like, are we fucking reviewing that? Nobody's talking about it. Like,
no, yeah.
I will watch it eventually, but it will just be on my own time.
Same.
And, I've been meaning to talk to you. I would like to do a podcast topic about like not playing or watching things when they come out.
Sure.
Because I feel like I have changed a lot.
Oh, I definitely think you have, for sure. Yeah.
When I used to be on top of literally everything.
Would you say one of the first times of that was Suicide Squad? Is it even more long changing than that, do you think? Or do you think
What do you mean Suicide Squad?
Suicide Squad kills the Justice League. Because I remember you were like, because I was like,
no,
I
think
even
it
predated that
years ago.
Interesting.
But yeah, I think it would be just an interesting topic for us to talk about.
I agree. I think it would be.
Anything else before I take the mic?
No, Gooch, I don't think so, man.
I did want to shout out friends of the show, Mike Mandel. I've already talked about Casey, but
yes.
Casey Wellman, both friends of the show have gotten married around the same time. D&D has been put on hold yet again. But I wanted to shout them out because I did go to both of their weddings. I was in Casey's wedding. That was the first wedding I've ever been in. That was last weekend.
Cool stuff.
And it was cool, yeah. But I just wanted to shout them out. And I did just come home from a little trip to the Poconos, a little man's weekend with the fam. We did nothing. And I've been so busy, dude. Every weekend I have something going on. Every week in October I have something going on. I have 2 more weddings in the same weekend at the end of the month.
Yeah, that's wild.
Next weekend is my dad's birthday. Me and Kathy are going to the Ren Fair on Sunday. And then the week after, we have the Halloween festivities between my gaming night and your party, then the weddings. And I'm just like, dude, it just doesn't fucking stop. So I got sick at the beginning of last week, and I was like almost not gonna go to the mountain. I'm like, dude, I'm so run down. I just feel so
traveling
tired.
will do that to you too.
Yeah. So that's really all that's been going on. I've been a little busy boy, but I'm still making time for the games, just like I've been making time for Red Dead Redemption. Still playing that. The Re3 is out, so go check that out. It's finishing. Actually, by the time you watch this, I'm thinking we don't release this week. We do it next week.
Oh, yeah.
Because we won't be podcasting next weekend, so we won't.
So what? We'll have Joker Tuesday and then
Joker Monday. Next Monday, the week after. That was just what I was thinking.
And then Re3's Thursday, of course. So
yeah, and that finishes up very. And it's funny how the Undead Nightmare lines up with like Halloween.
It's perfect.
We did not plan that.
Yeah,
but it's working out. But yeah, I 100%ed the main campaign. 100% Undead Nightmare, dude. Undead Nightmare was such a pain in the dick.
Yeah, it really seemed like you were running into some issues,
I really
man.
do think completing Red Dead Redemption is not very fun. You're right, Trio. You said at the beginning, doing it while you're playing the game is the only way to do it.
It's night and day.
Saving it for post game is fucking miserable.
I've been there.
It is miserable. It took me so long to get War to spawn and Chupacabra, but once they did everything else, I kind of wrapped up nicely.
Funny.
But I was like, dude, is my save fucking bugged?
Well, the
because
war
I was still
thing is
running
wild
into
to
that
me.
bug.
Yeah, the war thing is wild to me because like that always pops up for me first, right outside McFarland's ranch. I never usually have major issues finding that. I remember the Chupacabra giving me major issues before, but I actually looked up this time. It was like
it does have like locations.
Well, so there was one. It was like, all right, if it's not showing up, save at Chuparosa twice until the next nighttime, and then go over to the nun's place, and it'll be there. It showed right up for me. It was wild. Jesus. Yeah, I don't know, but
yeah,
dude,
so,
I agree.
So did you not have a hard time at all? Because you didn't mention it.
Nothing. I kid you not. Because I was taking time to just go and look around. Like even with War, I was fast traveling a lot, and I was like, you know what, I need to start riding so I can possibly run into these horses. And that does come from me doing this before, honestly.
Right,
because
I've been in the knowledge.
I've been in that shoe. I should have been clearer. I feel bad.
Honestly, you probably should have.
I just was like, it's terrible. It really is. It's just very grindy at the end because you're just waiting around for things to spawn a lot of the time.
Right, yeah,
and
yeah.
you can't.
And the
actively
RNG just seems like total bullshit.
Yeah,
like,
well, especially
really
with what you were running into, it's just like
I'm like,
Jesus
dude, I am
Christ.
running all over New Austin. I've not found this thing, and I found it once, and I think I mentioned it in one of our E3s, and I couldn't do the braking mini game. And I found other people who also had that glitch happen to them. And I'm like, did I fuck my save up? Am I going to have to 100% Undead Nightmare and like want to kill myself? And I am still boosting multiplayer achievements. That hasn't been really that bad.
You just got to do it, right?
Yeah. Right. I got to find the groups, and I've been kind of like getting with this one guy, and we've been starting sessions and getting other people and like just doing stuff ourselves. So it's kind of working out. So I feel like in November I should have this done on the 360. Mentioned Outlaws already. Astrobot, I platinumed that, played it. Check out that review. That
Absolutely.
is out now.
Yeah.
And Trio, what do you think when you're done Astrobot, a game like that? What do you think? Like, what's the next logical step? It's Doom Eternal.
That's right.
It's Doom Eternal. So I've been playing Doom Eternal, which has been really awesome.
I'm glad you like it.
I boosted the multiplayer achievements last weekend. I came home from Casey's wedding, and I was already talking to somebody, a guy named Adam, and we like ended up, me and him, he set up his PS4, so we had 3 players because it's only 3 players, and we just did all the achievements for each other in like 3 hours, and I was like, fuck yes, done. Like, don't have to worry about it anymore. But yeah, still going through the campaign. I got it. I'm good. When I'm done, I'm gonna listen to our hot take that we did during COVID with Phil, back in the day. I'm just like just to hear what you guys have to say.
I remember being pretty high on it.
The platforming and the puzzling of Doom Eternal, I think, really adds like an interesting arm to it.
I agree.
Like it really makes
liked
it
a lot
feel
of the
like
lore building
fresh.
too.
Yeah, there's
I
a lot
personally
of
enjoyed
lore,
a lot of
maybe
that.
almost too much.
So I think that was one thing I remember
like,
Phil being like not the biggest fan of, but maybe not.
Because I'm like, here's a codex. I'm like, this is a bit too long, and it like actually really doesn't have anything to do with
it's just backstory.
What's going on, and it's like the Argentineur and like these people.
I love all the.
I'm like, what is going on? And it like, but it clearly makes sense of like where they're going with the Dark Age and like going into that. So I am excited. So I should be finish that relatively soon. But
Fun stuff, man.
That well, no, there's what I've been watching real quickly. I finished I Think You Should Leave season 3. Got through that. I watched Tires.
Oh yeah,
Which friend of the show, Luke Kenny, is in.
has a role. Yeah.
Which was really cool. It's a show based in Delaware County in the area, so that's kind of cool.
And that's where Shane grew up. So he grew up around here. So
in Mechanicsburg.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I really liked it. I thought it was funny.
He went to Westchester. I might be
Westchester
wrong.
University.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
I know he's mentioned it in podcasts, like partying there.
But I have to admit, man, I kind of actually liked the plot of the show for some reason. It's 6 episodes. It's on Netflix. Go check it out. I was like, we are one. What's the thing? Being something away from Kevin Bacon.
Yeah, the game. I know what you're talking about. Like once removed from Kevin Bacon. Like how many times?
We are one thing away from Shane Gillis. And it's Luke fucking Kenny.
No, it's true. Yeah.
I asked him when it first came out, I'm like, do you want to come on the podcast and talk about it? And he just said, I think he just said no, or that he was busy. But I finished it and I'm like, is it funny that your character's name happens to be Chooch, which is really close to Gooch? And he's like, it is kind of odd, isn't it?
It's funny.
But yeah, dude, there is going to be a second season.
Yeah.
And I was like, are you going to be in it? He's like, hey,
he's got to keep it on the down low.
Right. Yeah. I would love to get him on to talk about that because that'd just be like very.
I mean,
cool.
It's always fun talking to Luke. He's always a great time.
We got to get him on.
Yeah.
Soon.
No, absolutely.
And I've just been watching Penguin, which has been very good.
I've heard
very good.
I've heard nothing but great things. So I'm excited to get around to it.
Yeah, I am liking it a lot.
I kind of wanted to let it build up 1 or 2.
You know why I'm watching it? Comes out. It's Sunday at 9 p.m.
It's a good time.
So I feel like it's like, yeah.
My girlfriend and I are going to start watching it next week, I think. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Do you know how long it is? I know it's less than 10.
Okay, I think it's 8 episodes, but and it's supposed to lead right into Batman, which I'm really curious if he does. I know they've said it.
I don't think he. Yeah.
I know they're like he's not showing up,
appearance.
but like, so have you? This is interesting. I saw a video about it on YouTube. I didn't watch it. I saw the title, I should say. But Mr. Sunday Movies always brings it up on the podcast that like there's a chance WB doesn't own the TV rights to Batman to like show Batman on screen in the proper way. That's why we never see.
They've done it,
but not really. Like it's always been obscure. They did it in Gotham, and it's for like a moment. It's never that the parents supposedly do not have the rights to put Batman in a syndicated show repeatedly.
So who does?
Disney. Because of Batman 89, because of the old show. Something with, I don't know how accurate this is. I haven't looked into it. They just bring it up a lot. But this is a possibility.
Disney couldn't make a Batman show, right? Like not legally.
No, but that they still. Well, I think they technically could, but it would be
fucked.
So I think that's what's going on, and that's why like they maybe technically can't put him in this.
I was thinking,
but it is interesting.
I'm like, wouldn't Batman be aware of the turf war going on between the Falcone family and the Maronis?
So how I think they're going to explain it is he's having a bit of a crisis of not a crisis, but like.
This is it's like 2 weeks after the Batman. Like it's not very long after that movie.
He's having a change of thought process that we saw happen at the end of Batman, where he's like, I need to be. It's not enough to be fear. I need to be a symbol of hope. And maybe in this moment, he's kind of wrestling with that and trying to figure out how to do that as Batman while the city's going to turmoil. And maybe that we'll see that kind of cocoon in Batman Part 2. But this is coming from someone who hasn't watched it at all yet, or Penguin. So I'm excited. I might, Gooch. I should just watch the Batman when I get home tonight.
What I was going to say is I really want, maybe even before Penguin finishes, because I think that's doable.
You want to come to a movie night?
Maybe.
4K?
In like 3 weeks.
Yeah. Well, that's the problem.
Yeah. Like I literally don't have a weekend.
It's tough, and weeknights are tough. I mean, you could come over on a weeknight, but that's tough.
Yeah. I'm like maybe sometime in November we could. But yeah, like I wanted to rewatch the Batman before the show finishes. Because again, I think that's possible, but I wanted to watch Joker before going into Folie à Deux, but did not get the opportunity to do that. But yeah, that's pretty much it. There is one other thing, and I wanted to briefly mention this. I don't want to go too on about it because you can definitely just check it out and see it for yourself.
Sure.
So it's almost been a year since I went to Iceland, and I've been working on an Iceland video for literally an entire year, and I finally finished it, and I finally put it out. If you follow me on social media, you can go view it, but it's in DNN's Discord and Suffer Motion. It's just a video of like why I went to Iceland, and it's about Death Stranding, really. So if you want to go check that out.
I gotta take a peek.
Feel free to do so. It's about 30 minutes long.
Awesome.
It's a meaty little video essay, but yeah.
I like it.
That's pretty much it.
Awesome.
Trio, do you want to intro the topic? Because this was kind of your idea.
Yeah, so it just feels like there's a lot of...
If you want to guide the conversation.
Yeah, sure. It feels like there has been just, a lot of talk in general about PlayStation these past couple of weeks, a lot of news. We had the PS5 Pro review. We had the Concord fiasco. We've had a reveal of the new state of play, the 30th anniversary PlayStation, different games coming out. It just felt like an appropriate time to maybe do a gut check
and then the meme, like, we're so back.
We're up, we're back, we're so back, we're gone, we're fucked, we're gone.
Yeah.
But I just thought it would be an interesting conversation to have at the moment. Just kind of see where we're both feeling about certain things. We had a lot of conversations in the Discord. We kind of got everyone's temperature.
And like we said at the beginning, we did this with Xbox when like there was a bunch of Xbox fiascos going on, and like
news in general.
And there's a bunch of PlayStation fiasco going on right now that
definitely
we haven't addressed. That we probably should.
We haven't had a chance to discuss. And you know what other reason is this fucking podcast exists than to shoot the shit about this stuff? So, yeah, there's been a few different fiascos, and I think we should. And I use fiasco loosely, probably a bit more loosely than you.
Yeah, I know I meant it.
I think that there has been some missteps for sure. I think a lot of that comes from PlayStation not really needing to be on the front foot when it comes to the gaming industry. One of the biggest failures we've ever seen was Concord, though, and I think it's kind of wild that has I think in a different universe where Xbox is a much stronger competitor, that is a moment to strike and could have been a genuine moment of sheer weakness to take advantage of, and unfortunately I don't think it's going to make a hugely major impact. And it's insane because it's a $200 million game.
To Xbox
and to even PlayStation. I think most people just didn't even know Concord existed. My brothers didn't know Concord existed. I could have asked them about it now. They still won't. They won't even know that it got canceled.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably going to get written off.
So, and that's the curious thing. I'm wondering if they can do that at this point.
I think the big question is, Concord has been offline for about a month now. Is it coming back? And I don't think it is.
Hold on. I think we should probably take a step back and inform people of what exactly happened, because I guess I'm assuming everyone knows. But so Concord was announced a hero shooter first party by PlayStation that was purchased by PlayStation midway through development, right? Something like that.
Something like that.
To that degree.
Yeah.
They bought out the studio that was working on it. They seemed to have some pretty heavy confidence in it, and it was first shown. When
at an E3?
Was it at an E3? I thought it was only revealed within the past 2 years.
I think it was still at like that E3 time.
Really? Okay. Or was it a Game Awards reveal? No, it wasn't. That's when it showed. Either way, they revealed it. It was critically
I'm gonna
just panned. Most people did not like it. It felt like Guardians of the Galaxy light. And it just...
You're a bit wrong.
Okay.
I think a lot of people were interested in Concord when it got released. It's when we saw the gameplay and the characters for the first time.
So what was the first reveal?
We just got the title.
Oh, okay.
And we knew what it was. And Firewalk
I guess I'm more talking about the gameplay.
Had been acquired by Sony. They've been making this game. It's now a Sony first
exclusive
party IP. Or no, it's now a Sony IP.
Yeah.
And then we got this past year, we finally got to see Concord for the first time and some of the characters and the gameplay.
Right.
And that's when everyone was like, eh.
It was universal, sadly. And it kind of blows me away that PlayStation maybe didn't see that and reassess at that moment. But here we are. The game was up to release. They had a pre-release beta.
May 2023.
Okay. That sounds about right.
Yeah.
So they had a pre-release beta that you could only get into through pre-ordering the game that they then opened up to everyone because they seemingly did not get enough pre-orders, which is an initially terrible sign. Then launch week comes up and it has a minimal amount of concurrent
less
players.
Than 2,000?
Yeah, something that you can barely even look at. And it's just a massive flop. There's no other way to put it. It's not doing well.
From the beginning.
People aren't playing it. Even when that beta went free, not a lot of people jumped in. The gameplay looked somewhat...
We didn't jump in.
The gameplay looks somewhat interesting to me in some aspects, to a degree. But then there is this whole kind of central idea of the gameplay, which I didn't even know about until post-launch, that it kind of makes you change characters. It incentivizes you to change your hero mid-game. So when you die, it's like, hey, you should play as this other hero. You'll get an XP boost or something like that. Which, as I understand it with hero shooters, you kind of pick your person and want to stick with that person for the most part. A lot of people do. Or at least maybe you have two or
find
three.
A main.
Yeah, you find your main and maybe your backup or two, and then you hang around. But this was kind of forcing people to change up their hero when they were finally kind of getting in. Not forcing, because I don't think you had to, but I think you were at a severe disadvantage if you didn't. And that just seems like a very wonky, gameplay element to me that just doesn't work. On top of the fact that the hero shooter market feels a little saturated, even though it maybe might not be when you really look at it.
It is and it isn't all at the same time. Like Overwatch 2 is at a really low point in my opinion, and it launched, and I think everyone realized the farce that Overwatch 2 was.
And was Marvel Rivals announced around the same time as this too?
Yeah, and Marvel Rivals just kind of looks like a better game that had its beta and was pretty successful, and it's out in December.
And I mean, they are superheroes in a hero shooter,
right?
So
an IP that people recognize, character designs that people like.
Interesting.
I think the biggest, we all know that the biggest issue with Concord was not the gameplay, it was the character designs.
And the vibes,
and the DE&I-ness and wokeness of their design and the way they looked and how they were Guardians of the Galaxy coded, and it felt like something we'd already seen. None of these characters felt unique and eye-popping and like things people wanted to invest in. I think that is the main problem with Concord, and I don't think that's my opinion. I think that's more of like a fact at this point.
I will interject
that Firewalk fucked up in designing their characters.
I really despise the use of like wokeness and DEI anymore because it's just nebulous and doesn't mean anything to me.
Like, what does that mean? Yeah,
I think it's just bad design, and it apes clearly off of Guardians of the Galaxy.
I think the reason I'm bringing up like the DEI is because like
DEI. Sorry, I'm not trying to correct.
What did I say?
DNI. I thought you were saying maybe I
DEI.
It's DEI.
I know. I've heard both.
Diversity,
equity, and inclusion, or diversity, equality, and inclusion.
Yeah, right.
So I'm just saying the end. It's the same thing. We're saying the same thing. Yeah, like Firewalk was spending a lot of time here are the characters' pronouns. Well, man, I don't really think people give a shit about your hero's pronouns. Like, that's not really important at the end of the day. I think there's like a lot of time spent kind of overwatching these characters, and here's your trans character, and here's your gay character, and here's your fat female character. They gotta like fit and check boxes with every hero, but like I think most of the characters were female, like not a lot of guys, and I think that the direction they were trying to go was to appeal to that, whatever that is, appeal to what? Like, what is that actually appealing to? Who are you appealing to? You're just kind of, again, we have a piece of paper with a checklist of like how society tells us we should be making our characters look like and how we need to represent everybody. And I think you get lost in the sauce in that, and then you can't make a good character because you're trying to just it's about appealing to people, appealing to Twitter.
Sure.
Not making good characters and characters who look cool and sound cool and have cool aesthetics and designs and colors and that sort of thing.
See, I don't even think it's appealing to Twitter. It's appealing to the people who developed it. Because, listen, if you want to play a video, I see someone say this, and I think it's totally true. If you want to play a video game that's developed by people who aren't woke or aren't liberal leaning and more on that side of the spectrum, it's going to be a very small list of games. A lot of these people, really believe in that type of stuff. And, at the end of the day, I don't give a flying fuck what the characters' pronouns are, or if they're gay, or what their identity is. I just want a cool character. And I agree with you in that respect. I do think this, everything's just, and I keep saying it, everything's called woke and this stuff to this point where I don't think it's a good descriptor. I think it's just more like bubbly and stupid looking.
So how do you describe it?
Bad.
Okay.
It's just a bad look it's
Right.
unappealing. I don't even really need to personally, and I think you're making fair points, and I agree with you on a good
And
amount
I
of them.
think like the difference between this and Overwatch's characters design is Overwatch's character designs are good.
That's what I'm saying.
Despite
Like, I
them
think Overwatch
being representative of all different walks of life.
Thank you very that's my point, honestly. Like where
Right.
I think I genuinely don't care at all like what the identity of the character is. I just want them to be interestingly designed and played in an interesting way. And it really does feel like they just took Overwatch and Guardians of the Galaxy and were like, let's just try and jam these things together. And they didn't do it as well as Overwatch, because like you're saying, Overwatch has all that stuff, but it doesn't feel as like overbearing, for lack of a better term. It feels natural. These characters still feel cool. They look interesting enough. There's detail in their design. And there's some somewhat interesting designs within Concord, but it's overwhelmingly just unappealing to most people. And I think that just is purely from an aesthetic standpoint.
For some reason, I don't know why they decided to go with like this pastel color palette.
It's just all too light.
Like their armor looks like 1940s football pads. Like that one like bigger female character.
Yeah.
I'm like, she just looks horrible.
So did you see the concept art that someone posted versus the final product?
No.
It's wild. Like it's slightly tweaked. I can't even describe the tweaks.
It's close.
It's like it's the same character. It's clearly like the same armor and stuff, but there are like slight tweaks to like the body posture and like the helmet and like like tiny little things. And I'm like, wow, this looks this looks so much better. The way that this is put out here versus put out there. But yeah, it was just an overwhelming failure, unfortunately.
And I think like making characters sexy, whether they be female or male, is important. I think making characters
should be
who
there
are
as well. If
normal and look like everyday people are not how people like characters. Stellar Blade is a good example for the female. But guess what? Ryu and your Street Fighter male characters who are like busting out of their clothes and are super jacked, and the females are jacked too, but I'm just using, it's a good male example.
I agree.
They're appealing looking. Am I talking about how hot Ryu is in the new Street Fighter game? No.
You know what's perfectly emblematic of what you're saying right now? Mortal Kombat 11.
Right.
I was
talking about that actually, or Mortal Kombat 11 and 1.
Yeah.
I'm
sorry, 1. That's what
I was talking
11's still pretty sexy.
I was talking about that with my cousin Nick, and we were like, oh, like, do you like MK1? And I'm like, it's not that MK1 is bad, but their characters are super normal looking. They're not hot. Nobody's looks like a fighter.
Yeah.
And I feel like the violence has become we've become very desensitized.
It's become realistic to a not fun degree. Because those people look real in Mortal Kombat 1. They look like how a normal person looks for the most part. Or like if they get fit. But I'm not here for that in Mortal Kombat.
Right.
I want a fucking ripped Jack dude, and I want a ripped Jack
Scorpion
with like his fucking biceps and his toned ass.
Right.
And then I want also
Sonya Blade should have big tits and be muscular.
Well, and you even see this with like character creations, like with Dragon
Ages.
They were talking about, and I thought this is a fair point. Like,
and the character customization looks great.
It looks great, but guess what? Like, I can't have big tits. Why can't I have big tits? Why not? Why can't I make the ass bigger? If you're gonna do all this stuff,
because we can't appeal to the male fantasy.
It can't be too sexual. And listen,
you know what? Another thing about that, Outlaws.
Sure.
Kay Vess is.
I disagree with that.
I just noticed, like, I was looking at her body.
You know who she reminds me of?
She's very plain Jane.
She's an
in terms of her sexuality, like her body. Like
she's as sexy as Ellen Ripley.
She has a vest on, and you can't see her like there's no bust.
Right.
Which is
like that.
Do I need to have Kay Vess to have big boobs? No, but like you can tell that they designed. They're like.
Sure.
She's not appealing in terms of not that I need to be sexually attracted to Kay Vess,
but she is like she's not like she's like as hot as like Ripley is, like in my opinion. Like that's
not the same.
They are
Ripley's in her underwear at the end of that movie.
But she's the exact same body type. She even almost has the same hair. She has an incredibly attractive face.
But I would debate that Sigourney Weaver is very sexualized in Alien, at least at the end. Her bush is sticking out.
Well, right, but that's different than saying having but that's different. That's sexualizing versus because she is.
No, I hear
you know what I mean? Like I think Kay Vess is still a very attractive looking woman. She's just dressed how a normal person would be dressed.
But like some dudes are really jacked and really hot, and some women have big tits and big ass.
Exactly.
But not I think 6 out of 10 women have bigger features. You know,
Sure.
Are all women planks? No.
I agree with you.
No.
100%. But I'm gonna
So again,
go
it's
hard at
just
you on Kay. She is
it's
not a plank though, for sure. She's got a and I hate that we're getting to this. She's got a good butt and she's got.
I
she
haven't
looks
looked
great.
at her ass. Sorry.
So
I only looked at her boobs the other day.
that was just one thing.
She's very. I just was she's small chested. I just noticed that.
Right. Yeah. But again, I don't know. That's one people keep saying she's ugly. I'm like, you guys are.
I don't think she's ugly. She looks very shitty at times.
Oh, the character model in some.
Yeah,
for sure. I agree with that.
I'm
100%.
there's a quality difference between cutscenes.
But
and
that's different than saying the character model itself is an ugly person. I just think.
Yeah, that's not what I'm saying.
I know.
I know. I'm just
sure.
saying.
I appreciate the
stating that for
clarification. Yeah,
I don't want to get canceled here.
I will say no, and you shouldn't. I mean, dude, you're not going. Apparently, everyone's again, the dog pile on I think Outlaws has been there too. But no, I don't need every game to have that. But a Mortal Kombat, that's part of the series. Whereas I'm not expecting the main character of a Star Wars game to be this big.
But I think
busty,
that
crazy
this is kind of the issue with. I'm not going to say Western developers. I'm going to say North American developers.
Sure.
Japanese people are holding no. They're not holding back.
Well, that's the joke too. Also here,
and maybe some European devs.
There's
it's the American North American devs that seem to be doing this. And where's Firewalk?
Well, the
from?
big joke here is also with America always has been is we really care about sex in our movies. We're oh, shield it, but violence is no big deal. Whereas it's kind of the opposite, especially in European countries and even more Asian countries. They are very turned off by any type of violence, but they don't.
Firewalk
give a fuck
is
about
in
sex.
Bellevue, Washington.
Yeah, and I mean, yes, you couldn't.
There you go.
I mean,
I didn't even know that. I could have been wrong.
You couldn't get, and again, this isn't a bad thing. It's just a point of fact. You could not be in a more left-leaning area, a more liberal-leaning area, and I say that as someone who's pretty freaking liberal. It's going to definitely affect how they create games. It goes into every game. It's like that thing when everyone was getting annoyed. Yeah, it's like that thing when everyone was getting annoyed that Sweet Baby Inc. or whatever. They were like, Spider-Man's this way because of Sweet Baby Inc. or all these companies made this decision because of Sweet Baby Inc. Guys, guess what? They're making that decision regardless of Sweet Baby Inc. being involved or not. That is how they think. That is how a grand majority of these devs feel.
I remember a lot of people were going after Alan Wake 2 because they worked with Sweet Baby Inc. And it's okay, I don't know, is it really something to boycott the game over?
No, because the game's still fantastic. And everyone will be oh well, they're the reason. They're apparently the reason that they changed to a black protagonist. Where can you show me where they said that? No, that's just the logical conclusion. No, it's not. I mean, well, I guess you can make that inference, but you have nothing to back that up for me. And the game's still fantastic. And by the way, they would have made that choice regardless of Sweet Baby Inc. being involved. I fully believe that. But that's just something I think we have to learn to accept, and I think that's something that they will. And I hate saying don't buy the game, but
you can't buy Concord.
Don't buy the game, and that's specifically this. But even it wasn't for that reason at all. With Suicide Squad killed the Justice League for me. It was just because I didn't like what they were doing with the series. I was I'm not buying this game, and I'm not going to sit here. I'm going to bitch to you guys in Discord about it for sure. But I'm not going to be pestering the game devs.
So I mean, but going back, I think the issue with Concord is not that the game doesn't look good, it's that the characters don't look good. And maybe you have some issues with the gameplay here and there. But again, the conversation was not Concord is a bad game. It's Concord characters look dumb and none of this looks appealing, so why would I play it?
They were overwhelmingly not compelling, as we can clearly see from the reaction.
I think this is a byproduct of Jim Ryan era of PlayStation. I think this was Jim Ryan's maybe one of his last full decisions of, hey, we're going to acquire Firewalk Studios. We are investing in live service, multiplayer IP. This is where the Bungie fiasco comes from.
So didn't Colin confirm that's not true, though, in his thing when he was saying it was a Herman Holst-led venture? He was the one...
Was it? Did he?
I'm pretty confident. When he did that whole thing on the last big news update that he did with the $200,000 or $200,000 $1 million budget. I'm pretty confident in that leak, he talked about how it was a heavily Herman, like the person was telling him that Herman Holst was really leading the charge on this one specifically. Okay. But I think that's a fair inference to make what you're saying. I mean, the more information we're getting and seeing these kind of failures when it comes to their, I mean, we got the cancellation of The Last of Us multiplayer. We have this coming out and failing in a ball of flames. Like, it's easy, and I think rightfully so, to make the inference that, like, well, Jim Ryan just got fired. I wonder why they fired him. Oh, it's probably because he made all these poor multiplayer gaming decisions, which, you know, they need to be in this space. They do, in some respect.
Yeah, they definitely do. And, you know, I don't think you can, like, I don't think you can fairly bring up something like Redfall or Halo Infinite and act like those quote-unquote failures are even remotely in the same category. I mean, not only is Concord one of Sony and PlayStation's biggest failures, I think it's one of the biggest failures in gaming, period. What multiplayer game have you known that's come out and within 3 or 4 weeks of release has shut down?
Gooch, 3 or 4 weeks. I think it was a week. I'm not kidding. I think
was it a week?
I think it was only a week. I'm genuinely maybe two.
I think it was
maybe
2
two.
Concord,
but
release.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I can't help but agree with you. And I like in another universe again.
2 weeks.
That's what I thought. Okay, that makes more sense. In another universe where Xbox is a strong competitor, this is a big moment for them.
And on top of it, you want proof that Sony invested in the IP? There's a Concord episode of this Next Level show.
Well, I mean, dude, they
made controllers that apparently those controllers are still coming out. You can still
by the way,
them.
They still have all of those cutscenes that they probably already generated.
Yeah.
Like, so there's a lot of money sunken costs into this game, and it's a big loss for them, man. It's
huge,
it's major,
astronomical,
but it won't affect anything.
Yeah, because they'll write it off.
They'll write it off,
but
also
they'll find some way to.
I think they
make it go away.
Well, but even if they don't, like, I don't think it materially affects the console race in any way, shape, or form.
No, I don't. But I don't think that's a conversation we're having.
Oh, I think
I know you just brought it up.
Sure, no, but I think that's. I agree. This is just more of like a sidebar of like. That's my kind of thought process coming out of this.
Maybe,
like, it's crazy,
maybe it tells gamers that PlayStation isn't the place to play multiplayer games, but I don't necessarily think that's true.
I don't think so. No one's going to be like, man, Concord failed, I'm going to get an Xbox.
I mean, also, Bungie is failing right now.
They're having some major issues. Yeah.
Marathon is a big up-in-the-air unknown. They're
hemorrhaging money. They just fired a bunch of people.
Right. And do you think Firewalk is going to...
Yeah, they're gonna for sure. I can't imagine. I think they're gonna move some people to different studios that they can help with, and then the rest will be let go. And I do feel very bad for those people because a lot of them are just being. Yeah, I don't. The only person I don't really feel bad for is the game director because I think a lot of the buck stops with him. But I feel bad for those folks on that job that were just doing the job that they were told. They were getting the feedback and saying that this is the right way to go. And they created the game that they thought they were supposed to create, and it failed miserably, and that sucks. But that can't stop us from criticizing the game and talking about its faults, which we are, of course. That's not stopping us. It's a fascinating little moment, and yeah, I don't know. I think it really kind of spells out what PlayStation will do here in the future in the way of, like, I think taking its time and really trying to cultivate these things. I mean, it had a lot of things bubbling in the background. A lot of them got canceled for their multiplayer stuff. I still can't believe they canceled The Last of Us in another universe that's just released as a regular old-fashioned multiplayer game that gets updated for 2 years and goes away. I still wish we had more of those games. Seems like Warhammer's kind of getting more into that idea again, that more classic style of multiplayer
that
game.
360 PS3 era of your single-player game has a multiplayer suite, and it's
pretty
good. It's pretty good.
You have customization. It's elaborate enough, and it will keep you coming back. Whereas, like,
are you going to be playing it in 2 years?
Probably not.
Probably not.
But you're going to have a great time with it for those 2 years. You paid $70 for it, and that's that. I want to see that come back, and I don't know. It will never happen, but I would love to see that Last of Us game actually come out. It's already been written off. It's in the dust. But it does give me pause to think about anything multiplayer coming out, and it's wild because it's coming off the back of the success of Helldivers, which absolutely kicked ass. I know it's kind of going down a little bit more in player counts at this point and things like that, but that was a fucking big milestone for them. It's not necessarily, and Colin's talked about this on Sacred Symbols, and I agree with him, it's not necessarily maybe the multiplayer hit they were looking for. They want something like a
Right,
Fortnite that you can continuously milk
Right.
in so many different ways.
Yeah.
But it was still a fantastic
Helldivers
success.
2 is not necessarily a part of this live service initiative.
Yeah, I agree. It's like it is, but not in the same
really,
way.
yeah,
It's definitely it's the least
Concord was supposed to be that.
It's the least live servicey
Marathon
live
is
service game. Definitely supposed to be one of that. Yeah.
Supposed to be that.
Which is like an extraction shooter, right,
Yeah.
or something. So yeah, I mean they've lost some people. Sony seems to be really so when they got hired or when they got bought out, they seem to have some type of insane contract where they can just do whatever they want. Like they were owned by Sony, but not really. They were getting Sony funding.
We're talking about Bungie?
Yeah, they could do whatever they want. And now it seems like that party is over. And I'm pretty sure that they even broke off a separate team within Bungie to work on a new single player game, sci-fi action game. I think Colin mentioned that on a Sacred Symbols pretty recently, and they're being made to do that.
Like
By Sony, because guess what?
Do you think Sony just drops this live service initiative? It just seems to be an utter failure as of now. Nothing has paid off.
I don't think you can. I think you.
Why?
Because you need to be in that space right now as a AAA developer. I think logically,
yes, correct.
Should you drop out? Probably for the moment and really take a time to recuperate. But it's kind of weird because, like I said, you have success in Helldivers, and I know again, like we just stated, that's not the exact multiplayer game that they're looking for, but it's still a very successful multiplayer game that you can learn a lot from. And I think that shows us that they can do this. They just need to be a lot more diligent about it. Like Xbox, we saw Xbox was on the same way with it had a lot of things in development that we're finally starting to see kind of come to fruition. And I hope it can go that way with PlayStation, but I don't know. And I don't know what it necessarily means for their multiplayer initiative going through. I don't see them dropping it completely, to answer your question, I guess. Should they? I guess not. Do I want them to? Yeah, I do want them to. But
So I think if anything, they'll do it. I mean, they're still going to be developing live service games, but I don't think it's going to be this flag-carrying offensive that they've clearly talked about it being.
Right.
And Sony is more quiet than ever. We have no idea what's going on with Sony.
Correct.
Herman Hulst doesn't talk all that much. Yeah, I mean,
they just don't have
but
to.
Neither is Xbox right now. I think Xbox and Sony are in a very similarly different situation where things just aren't working out in a lot of different ways.
Sure.
But in other ways, things are working out, but the negatives are a bit more noticeable than the positives. I mean, that's going to be,
and I think
of course,
that
the
kinda comes
negatives
back,
are going to be the things we talk about more than the positives.
And that comes back to kind of what even we were just saying on the Joker podcast with there is a bit to just feeding into the negativity. And I think, you need to be critical, and there's a way to be critical without feeling I don't even know, overwhelmingly, almost soul sucking that I feel like it's gotten to at this point. You need constructive criticism, and I think PlayStation needs a lot of it right now too, and I think they need it more because they don't have to say anything. They're so far ahead when it comes to console sales that unless something meteoric happened, Xbox
you
is
don't
not
think
even getting
Concord's
close.
failure is meteoric?
Not in a way that affects them. Not in a way that will make someone get away from PlayStation.
But I would still make the statement that Concord's failure is meteoric.
I agree. I think 100%. It's a major failure that will be remembered throughout the gaming industry.
Right.
I think
we'll
for a
never
while.
not talk about it.
But
it won't
the
go
fact
away.
that is such a major misstep by them, and it really doesn't affect anything, shows you where the console race is at, and shows you how much of an advance they are
can
at.
take a meteoric hit and
nothing
still
happens.
keep walking.
And I think it's a major. It's a reason because, like I said with my brothers, they had no idea what Concord is. So that
Why are we
works
talking to your brothers about Concord? I'm just curious.
because they play multiplayer games. They like Call of Duty. They like multiplayer.
Yeah, it just
stuff.
seemed like an odd
And I'm
thing.
just I'm like, have you heard of Concord at all? I was talking to Jay. I was like, have you heard of this? He's like, no, I haven't. And I talked to even who was I chatting with at work? One of my friends at work. They're like, no, I don't know what Concord is. And they were gamers, more of a gamer. This guy Jake at work, and they just hadn't heard of it. And then it's gone. So that's a double-edged sword. Wow, no one heard of it, and you fucking released this? Are you guys a moron? Are you guys morons? Or what are you thinking? But then also when it goes away, no one even knew it happened. They don't even think about it. And also, even if they did, again, it's not going to make someone be like, all right, I guess I'm getting an Xbox now. I hate, like, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I don't mean
you're right.
Like, I don't say that as like a fuck you to Xbox, because guess what? If they both had like the same games, 10 out of 10 times, I'm recommending an Xbox to someone. But when I'm talking to my friend Christian, I think he's going to get a console this year, and he's like, what do I get? I'm like, I think Xbox has the best UI. I think the way it delivers your games is fantastic. I think the way it takes care of you, especially, I think Game Pass is losing a bit of its value at this point personally, but we can get into that on another podcast. I think there's a lot of greats about the Xbox, but I'm like, but this does lock you out of this game, this game, this game, this game, this game. And then he's like, well, I do want to play God of War. I want to play Spider-Man. I want to be able to jump into Helldivers with you if I want to be able to get it. So I sadly do think that unless that's alleviated, and it's not going to be, I mean, Xbox is just, I in my heart of hearts believe Halo will be on PlayStation within 2 years. If not Gears of War. Just the way that everything's progressing, it's all going to be on my PlayStation. So they can take a meteoric hit like this, and no one's going to bat an eye for them. No normie is. We are, who pay attention to it and really kind of think about it more, and it's a bit of our hobby. It is our hobby. It's going to be something we'll talk about and really kind of simmer on, but I think overall, it does not affect the industry, which is, Gooch, that is wild. For how big of an event that is. I think that is wild.
Why don't you think it affects the industry?
Sorry, I shouldn't say that. It doesn't affect the console race. I shouldn't say the industry. Because it definitely affects the industry in the way of how games are made and the thought process of what's going on.
A team is going to close. People are going to lose
I should
jobs.
say, in the competition between...
live services continuously... Live service as a numerous game genre
as a money printing machine
is losing its value. And what I mean by that is you have your pillars and that's it. There's no room for any smaller
I agree.
contender in that race.
Yeah,
It's
so
Fortnite, it's Call of Duty, it's Halo. It's the big hitters. You know them. I may not be able to name them all right here and there, but you know who they are.
Yeah,
It's,
and then
I think it's your League of Legends, it's your Dota, those kinds of games.
Yeah, I should clarify.
Overwatch.
It doesn't affect the brand competition at all, which it should. And I think that really does show you where.
Do you think it could down the line?
No, I really don't. Sadly, just because everyone's still going to play Call of Duty. Like, this doesn't give anyone any reason to switch Call of Duty or anything. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
I'm still getting all my games. I have my digital library that I've been building up over the past 2 or 3 years. By the way, you don't own your game. And it's just... I don't see this moving the needle at all in that respect. In the respect of how games are made and the thought process that Sony is putting into them, it's major and is meteoric. I think that for sure. But it's just sad to me that I do think, and this isn't to rag on Xbox. You know I like Xbox. It frustrates me that they're doing this. It just does show me that Xbox is really just left in the dust right now when it comes to that stuff, unfortunately.
A lot of well said points, Trio. I think one of my issues about this is I think the difference between when this happens to PlayStation and when this happens to Xbox. I think there's a clear willingness to sweep it away. It didn't happen. Concord? Nah.
Do you think so though? Because I feel like
Redfall. Fucking Xbox messed up. Redfall sucks. Look at the money gone. These are totally two different failures. I don't think I'm not hearing this Sony. I'm not hearing people lay into Sony about Concord.
Sure.
Like they did with Halo Infinite and Redfall, which are much more successful than Concord ever was factually.
So I guess for me, I felt like it was pretty
And
renownedly...
Redfall is a pretty similar situation to Concord, which is
For
actually
sure.
pretty coincidental.
From the people I followed, it felt like they were giving pretty much the same energy. as like a red flag.
I think the problem is a lot of people don't give a shit about Concord or give a shit about Firewalk.
Exactly.
I think a lot of people care about Arcane.
I agree with
that 100%. And a lot of people care about 343 and Halo as an IP.
I agree.
So like they are, again, similarly different. I mentioned that once before about something else. Yeah, I guess that's just where I'm and what I don't like and when I listen to the conversation. And I don't really think I dislike the conversation about Concord. Again, it's more of just facts than it is conjecture and opinion. I think it is like we were talking about going to the character design stuff about why Concord failed, because it doesn't look good. You don't go to a store and maybe buy an impulse purchase because it looks bad.
So Pirate Software on YouTube, he's gotten big recently. His dad used to. He's very interesting. I would recommend looking him up. He's like a game dev and he talks about a lot of game stuff. And he went through the character models. And I can't remember exactly what he was saying, but he was making some very good points as to why aesthetically he was like, these just don't jive with him. And I do think you're right, man. The first impression's one of the biggest. And if I don't like what I'm looking at, just based off of pure aesthetics, we're going to have an issue.
Right.
Like it's like when you come, it's not exactly the same, but it's similar to me in the way of when I see an animation, like whatever it is, the animation style is half of it for me. Like I need to enjoy the style of the animation before I watch the animated show. It's a big part of it. Mm-hmm. It's the same with games for me for the most part. Yeah. Like that first impression and that look, like if the world looks dumb and looks unappealing, it's going to be hard for me to get over the hump and want to get into that game.
My background, I have a Bachelor of Arts and a degree in multimedia design. And a lot of the process of designing things is sitting down with your peers and critiquing what you're looking at.
Right.
And not being like, it's not negative critique. Honestly, learning how to critique your peers' work is very difficult. One, being able to take the critique, but two, being able to deliver a critique that helps this person
that isn't
make
just
their
like
thing
I don't
better.
like this.
Right.
Yeah.
And like I don't think at one point did they kind of get in a meeting, Firewalk, and just be like, they must have just okayed everything.
Well, so I know
like
Colin was
it doesn't seem like their team had like valuable critiquing sessions where they were evaluating what their peers were doing and giving them constructive feedback.
So in that same league, so Colin Moriarty of Sacred Symbols, there was a contact he talked to within Firewalk within the past 2 weeks, and he got all this information, and they were talking about how it was this culture of like toxic positivity.
Yes,
like everyone's totally just yes-manning each other, and no one, you don't want to say this isn't working because then you're looked at as the no man, and like you are then kind of shifted out and stuff like that. Like you're 100% right, Gooch. You need to be able to critique someone, and that comes from both angles in the way of giving a worthwhile critique and being able to accept that. And if you can't, what the fuck are we doing here? You can't. Nothing's gonna get done correctly. And even like, dude, really quick side tangent. That fucking. Did you see the movie theaters talking, or like the chains being like, we're gonna bring in these super fans to talk about like different storylines, and if they I need to send it to you. I don't know what you're talking about. Wild. They're getting together like these almost jury things of like super fans that will talk about if things will upset audiences about movies coming out or something like that. Like, you don't need that either. You just need to fucking hire people who are willing to have conversations and actually critique each other's work and not just yes each other to death. And that's how you get Concord. I don't know, man. It's a very sad state of affairs on Concord. Should we move on to maybe the next stuff here?
Before we move on,
please.
Total sidebar. Can you go over to my desk? There's two cough. See where the speaker is with the little stuffed guy on top of it? There's two cough drops sitting on my desk. Can you bring them to me?
Sure thing.
My throat is getting a little hoarse, and yeah, and I was sick, and I'm like, it's more because of that, and I'm talking a lot.
I'm honestly getting a little hoarse myself because we've been going.
Yeah, I just wanted to do that. Yeah, but we can move into our next topic while I insert this into my mouth.
So the next up was the PlayStation 5 Pro.
Here we go.
Which initially I was like kind of put off by, but after kind of getting the facts of what the machine can actually do, terrible state of play. Terrible explanation of what
Mark
it's doing.
Cerny, power 9 minutes.
Power 9 minutes.
Not a power hour.
You should,
9 minutes.
Can we put in the picture of him when he's like, this for just a second here, right here?
What a yeah! I'm like, it's like this was not even worth the time to do. You
just
almost
was
should have
not
put it
well
on a blog post.
Well, and
then
also,
like we're gonna do a technical thing, and it's like, oh well, obviously it's a PS5 Pro, and then it's like
it just
disappointing in more ways than one.
Well, it just didn't do.
In my opinion,
it just did not do a good job of illuminating what this machine is doing to me. They were showing me side by sides on PS5 and PS5 Pro, and I'm like, the reflection's a bit better. Okay. We get past that. It's revealed for $700 plus another $100 if you want the stand and the disk drive. Okay. That's a lot of money.
It's like 110.
So, yeah.
80, 30, 80 for the disk drive.
So, you're looking at for a fully
stand.
kitted up one if you want the disk drive, which I will say, people are bitching about this, but not a lot of people are buying physical games that doesn't have a disk drive, which I agree with. I think it should. And, Colin talked about on the podcast that he talked to his like Moore's Law's dad guy who's more technical, and they're definitely selling this at a profit, which I don't think they would be doing if they had more competition in the console space. I think for what this machine is doing and for the equivalent computer parts that as I understand it, it's still a very good deal. It's not a console I need right now. It's not something that's giving me constant. Apparently, I don't know if I'm going to have 60 frames per second on each game. That is the biggest thing that I'm looking for. The biggest idea, apparently, of it is that it will combine your
fidelity and performance.
Your performance and fidelity modes together.
I think
that
is the big headline. The PS5 Pro will eliminate your choice between fidelity and performance.
Right. So you will have 60 frames.
Which is a good thing, but like, am I, Anthony Ragucci, going to buy a PS5 Pro for $700 to eliminate that? No, I'm not. It's too much money in this economy, in this age we're at now in 2024. I think $700 for, your Pro console is way too much money. I think if it was $600, I don't think I'd get it, but I don't think I'd be critical of the price point. On top of it, again, if you're anyone who's bought a physical disc, you are being forced to buy the disc drive, which you may not be able to get because other people are going to be buying the disc drive. And it's going to be sold out. And on top of it, they don't have the audacity to give you a fucking stand for this thing. What the fuck? Like, the audacity that Sony has to not make this thing super worth it, charge a premium price for it, which I understand this is a premium console. And
it's a boutique item.
Right. But then basically force me to buy $110 more worth of extras. What the fuck?
You know why they can do that?
Because they have no competition.
That is correct.
Xbox is not releasing a Pro, upgraded console like it's just going to be the S and the X. Switch certainly isn't going to be competing, and Nintendo certainly isn't going to be competing with what's going on here. So Sony's the only player in town, which means they can do whatever the fuck they want.
And listen, they are selling this for profit.
And they're going to get away with it, and people are going to buy PS5 Pros still.
Well, some people are. Some people who want it. They don't seem to be selling out or anything like that yet. They do seem to be the boutique item, and they are.
They aren't? Do you know that? Really?
I didn't think they were. I thought they were still pretty readily available on like Walmart and stuff to pre-order.
I never actually thought.
I don't know.
I
think Sony's
I didn't hear about it either.
I think Sony's just positioning this Pro as just like, if people want to buy it, we can make some money off them. It's going to give you some technical advances. If you want it, buy it, and you don't have to buy it. And I will say, I don't think the price is as outrageous as I initially thought, especially when you start comparing the actual pieces of hardware within the PlayStation 2 computer parts. I think Digital Foundry was saying to make something equivalent, you'd have to spend like $1,100, $1,200. So that's pretty good. That's still a major difference. Inflation, Gooch, is absolutely awful. And I understand people being like, fuck off with that excuse, because guess what? Wages have not kept up with inflation. A lot of people cannot afford the day-to-day basic groceries. So yeah, when you see a $700 console, it's going to tick you off a little bit. And I think that's incredibly fair.
Exactly where I'm
coming from. And I think
that
that's a very fair, view. And I think, honestly, when it first was announced, I was very much in that same boat. I'm still on the side of like, I don't need this right now. Maybe if I start seeing some like gameplay showings of it where I'm like, wow, this does look gorgeous. It's consistently hitting 60 frames on every new game that's coming out. That would maybe make me go towards it.
The fact that they didn't reveal a game that was like being made for the power of the PS5 Pro, obviously not PS5 Pro exclusive, but like we'll take advantage of it, like a Bloodborne remaster. You know, like it's like here's Miles Morales, and it's like,
I mean, we technically did get Ghost the next week, but like, yeah, it's not like they're
not.
I think you're also running the risk though of like, you don't want to say that this is like, you want to say that you can play this on both because you know what I mean?
You want to say that like
you don't want to
playing Bloodborne remastered will take it full advantage of the PS5 Pro.
Yeah,
and obviously it's not exclusive, but again, it is like, you know, they have Final Fantasy Rebirth in there and a few other games, and it's just like, okay, sure, but like they're old games. I've already played them.
Exactly, and again, if they decide to update or reinvent themselves, like on Xbox, it's ultimately up to the developer. So like they can turn on all these things all they want. If Rockstar doesn't turn on or doesn't uncap the frame rate of Red Dead from 30 frames per second on their end, it doesn't matter how powerful that console is. So that's the other thing that gives me a bit of pause. It's like, not that every game needs a PS5 Pro enhanced part of it, but like, will I at least be able to like jack up the frame rate as much as I can or do something with that, with this console? And I don't know. It seems like it will consistently, if a game has a performance and fidelity mode, those will be combined. But I don't know if that's
hopefully.
But I was gonna say that's the thing.
Hopefully.
I don't know if that's only for PS5 Pro enhanced games or like
all games.
Games can send out updates if they want to. Like that is still the best part of PC, where you can put a game on your PC and just choose all the settings that you want to choose and run it at.
If you have the best system ever, you can certainly make your game look like you do have the best system ever.
I would love to be able to plop Red Dead in my Series X and run it at 60, which, by the way, it can do that. It just can't because Rockstar won't allow it to. So PlayStation can do all it wants on this side. If the developers aren't also matching that, then that's going to be an issue. There does seem to be a pretty good list of games that are getting enhanced editions. I know Alan Wake's on there. I'm sure all the first party games, but that's another tough sell for me. It's like, okay,
I'm not playing Alan Wake on PlayStation,
but also,
so I can't take advantage of that.
So for me, the major issue too is like, they're like, okay, all these games are going to run super well, and all the games that are definitely going to run even better are first party PlayStation exclusives. And I'm like,
that's a pretty limited number of games.
And it's like, that's great. But by the way, those games already run super well on my PlayStation. They're so well optimized. You can.
Am I going to spend $700 to make it look a little bit better?
Right. Like I can play Spider-Man 2 at fidelity and performance. There's a 60 frames ray tracing mode in that. Like these first party games are already incredibly well optimized. So if that's like the major draw-in for me, it's not a huge draw-in for me. I guess I should say, if that makes sense. So that's kind of my most major issue. Gooch, I'm not going to lie. If I end up making some more money by the end of the year and GTA 6 is coming out and I can get like $400 something for my PlayStation, maybe I will upgrade. I don't know. But yeah, I'm definitely not on that right now.
I think if this was 2020 and we were in the same economic situation, like it looks totally different. 2020, like we are not in a good economy right now. A lot of things are really expensive. A lot of people don't have extra money. It's not COVID. We're not getting stimulus checks every so often.
Everything is fine if you don't count housing, groceries, gas, and your bills.
Are you trying to make a joke?
I am making a joke.
Okay, yeah. I was like, yeah, that like grocery. Yeah. I mean, like gas is relatively low, but like everything else is still expensive.
I mean, relative to that,
being a homeowner is expensive. Buying groceries is expensive. Everything is expensive. And again, like I can't confidently say that a majority of Americans have a lot of
expendable income.
Yes. Yeah.
I think it's
like we did in 2020.
I think the stat is like 60% of Americans couldn't afford a $400 emergency payment if they needed to at the moment.
Yeah.
Something
so
wild like that.
Yeah. I think we converse and talk about this niche audience of gamers, but like we are not talking. We don't know what the pleb the plebeian gamer is
But
going
again,
through,
I don't
and
think-
what financial decisions they're making. And if they see this, do they go, "Oh yeah, I'm totally buying the $700 PS5 Pro. I'm totally going to do that." Like, I just don't think that's the case.
So I don't think that is either, but I think Sony knows that. I think they are understanding that going into this. They are fully aware that this is going to be an expensive product that they will make money off of when it sells, and they'll just take that extra income from the non-plebs. People like us who, I know we're not as interested, but, you see Colin, they're getting it. The people who are, what's the word? They're hobbyists. They really do like this.
Enthusiasts,
thank you. They will pick this up, and that's who they are counting on.
Yeah, for
You know
sure.
what I mean?
I mean, that's
I
what
don't think that
that's
they
what this
are-
console is
Yeah,
made for. But like, they also aren't going to.
They're
X
hoping to
the
scoop up
majority
some-
of their fan base or the people who buy their products.
I think they are well aware though that price will definitely exclude a lot of plebs, for the lack of a better term. Like, your normies. But those are also the people who don't care about those upgrades, and they are fully willing to accept that they don't need those. I mean, dude, even I'm playing like
There's still people on PS4, like that's
what I'm
that's
saying.
the problem.
So,
here.
like-
a lot of people think the PS5 standard is too expensive.
Well, and also it's just like I just haven't been Jesus Christ. There have been a lot of fantastic games this generation. I think some people have gotten to the point where they're like, "There's been nothing. This gen sucks. We haven't been." I'm like, I don't think that's true. I do think it's
I don't
true.
think
I
that's
think
true
we've
either.
had some certified fucking bangers.
Yeah,
But
of
I
course.
do think it's true that there haven't been many games. I think I can count them on my hand.
The game that
that
is
has
the
truly
definition
taken
of-
advantage of those promises that we were given on that first Mark Cerny Power Hour, where that this console is going to be able to do things that, and he didn't people are saying like we were promised 60 frames per second for every blah blah. I'm like, I don't think that's necessarily true, but we were promised that this console was going to be able to make games that were impossible on PlayStation 4. It's tough to believe that when almost every game is being ported backwards to the PlayStation 4. Star Wars Jedi Survivor was just ported back to PlayStation 4. And you want to hear the fucked up thing, Gooch? You can get that full game on that disc. You cannot do that on PlayStation 5. The entirety of the game is on the PlayStation 4 disc. What are we doing? But yeah, anyways, I could go on another diatribe. I don't know. I definitely think at the beginning I was more down on this. But as I've become more informed on certain aspects of it, I definitely don't like it, but I'm not as annoyed.
I would agree. My problem with it is the price point.
I agree.
I think it's doing exactly what this next tier of console would do. What the series, the Xbox One X did for the Xbox One. What the PS4 Pro did for the PS4.
The price
but
on that alone,
it's the price point that I feel like is just absolutely unfair.
No,
I mean, even in PlayStation's
will-
home country of Japan, the yen is fucking worthless. The PlayStation 5 and its controllers have gone up there.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's
and
crazy.
so the PlayStation controllers are more expensive here too. I think it went up by $5 here as well.
Did it? Really?
Yeah, I'm pretty confident. They're 75 now, I think.
I thought they were 65.
I mean, dude, we're lucky. Sorry, they are 65. Yeah,
So they're 70 now?
I think they're 70 now.
That's crazy.
I might be incorrect though on that. Anyways, I do think that I don't necessarily. I almost don't think the price is unfair. Really, when you lay it out with what you're
I think
getting,
the price is unfair in the terms of the economic situation of most people.
I
That's
agree
what I'm
with you, and
evaluating
that was,
on. I don't really give a shit what's in the box.
Well, it's fucked because
should I
economically, price wise, it makes sense with how inflation has worked out. With it everything's more expensive.
I
It's
know.
harder to get everything over here. We don't make anything in the U.S. because we suck. So
I mean, it's a Japanese system.
no, but I know, but they could still create it here. We could still create microchips here. We don't create any of that type of stuff. That would eliminate some of those costs.
Right.
It's just not going to happen. So I do think with how much things have inflated. I mean, dude, $400 in 2020 is $490 now. Yeah, $480.
Yeah.
That is one of the most insane jumps in inflation, and it's for a numerous amount of things. It's because we printed a bunch of money during COVID, which we kind of had to sustain everyone. No one was working. We had a fucking pandemic that stood our economy still for 4 years. There was going to be some major issues cropping back up. Insane unemployment. so there are all these factors, but I can completely empathize with someone who is like, I don't give a fuck. My money has not caught up with all of that.
And
so
that's exactly the claim I'm making.
And I think it's ridiculous. But I can't necessarily blame Sony for that. It's kind of the larger world that we are living in right now. And after I wore my PlayStation logo last week, I am a PlayStation pleb now. I'm in their pocket of big PlayStation. No, but I don't mean to sound like someone who's like trying to defend. I do. I don't think you're trying to defend them. Like it just makes sense.
I think you're saying a lot of good points, Trio.
It's just where my thoughts are at. But yeah, I don't know. It's a weird kind of announcement. It's definitely not necessarily what I was expecting, but overall, it was just kind of a fart in the wind. But
you think so? Fart in the wind? Really?
Sorry, not a fart in the wind. People were more in my own kind of thought process.
Again, the discourse was annoying. It's
pretty negative. Pretty negative.
Like it's negative, but it's also like, oh, here we go.
Like just overwhelming.
Even though I'm negative, it's like now I gotta like live in this, like
the negativity
of the general gaming discourse about it, and I gotta hear about it, and then it's gonna come out. Honestly, I think the PS5 Pro will probably come out, and it will be a fart.
Yeah, no,
I don't think it's going to be this like big.
I think it will be
moment where it's like we need to buy a PS5 Pro. Look at this.
I think it's going to be like the PS4 Pro. That didn't sell like gangbusters or anything, right? I think it only sold like 10 million units. I think Colin mentioned on the thing, like a very small percentage of total PS4s. So I think that's what they're expecting, and I don't think they'll be that upset about it. And then they showed off something where I was like, maybe I will get that. With the PlayStation 5 30th anniversary collection.
It's like really a different shade of colors, really gonna like sway your opinion.
I know it's a joke. Obviously, that did literally.
Yes.
But it did look so good. I was like, oh, God damn
if I had some extra income right now and I didn't have a lot of things going on, 2 more weddings on my plate, I would have tried to get that controller. I would have too. But I'm like, you know what, man? I don't feel like playing the game of fucking waiting in line to pre-order this shit. I just don't feel like doing that. Why do they have to make this a fucking limited thing? They don't need to do that. The consoles I get, but they want it to be competitive. They want you and me fighting for the fucking the 30th anniversary gray PlayStation 5 controller. They want us going at our throats.
That is the color the PlayStation should still be. That controller, the colored face buttons. It's so good and it looks amazing, and I do hate that a ton of, it's not just PlayStation. A ton of different types of companies do this where they release collectors or like specific editions, even like movies and stuff like that. But oh man, they look so good, and it does annoy me how scalpers can just hop right in.
The bundle for the Pro console price is fucking insane though, like $1,000,
and that's like everything in on it, right? I
think that's like those grippy little controller things. It's the controller, it's the portal.
I do think that's an investment, honestly. Like you could, like genuinely, like you could buy that and put it in a closet, and it will be worth more. Somewhat more, at least.
Yeah.
Within a couple, within a couple years. But greediness aside, it looks so good.
I mean, it's great that like PlayStation's celebrating their brand by doing this. It's just again, like on top of everything that's going on, it just kind of makes me roll my eyes and it's be like, God damn it,
you
Sony.
know what would have made me roll my eyes less? And I saw people talking about this on Twitter. I thought it was a very good idea. You limit it to people with a certain amount of hours on PlayStation.
How the fuck would you do that?
You have a PSN profile. Everyone has their PSN profile. You see this guy.
True.
Everyone who has been playing for this many hours gets sent out the link first.
That's crazy.
Like, isn't that an interesting idea?
That's an interesting
I think
idea.
that works very well.
Can you do that?
Well, they have all that information in the background. So they could easily be like, okay, this list of people have played played this many hours.
Right.
We're going to send out an email for first purchasing to them. If they don't respond within the day, it gets unlocked for everyone or something like that. I think that there is a way you could do that.
That's interesting.
It would take a lot more prep on the side of Sony.
I think a lot of people would be really pissed off.
Yeah, but I guess
the people who don't get the email.
I agree. And you could probably game that in some way and get your time.
I feel, like for certain platinums, you'll get like an email that you get like an exclusive like profile picture. There, I can't tell you how many times like it's like, oh, like I know that happened with Spider-Man, and it like sometimes like people never get the email.
Right.
for some reason. And it's just like, I feel
So
like
that's the
that,
thing, you can run
that
into-
kind of situation would happen where like, it's like, hey, well, I had 1,000 hours last year on PlayStation. Where's my email? I didn't get one.
And then someone's like, well, I had 3,000. Yeah.
well, like,
No, no.
well, I had, I had 400 hours and I got like,
Yeah.
and it's just like
No, you could run in.
I think it's a weird, it's a weird like lottery system.
You could run into some issues for sure. I just
Right.
wish there was
You
some
cause
way.
more controversy than it's worth.
I guess I personally, like, truly though, like if someone was, it would make me feel at least, I don't know, weirdly a bit better knowing that that's how they were doing it rather than just putting it up first come first serve and scalpers can just have 10 different computers set up to then buy them. But I think you're poking some good holes. But yeah, it looked great. And then we got the state of play. Was there anything else you wanted to say on the 30th anniversary?
No, but we missed one thing. The PlayStation
new
5
welcome screen, right, yeah.
screen. Have you messed around with that?
I haven't. I don't know if I've gotten the update yet, or is it out live for everyone?
I don't know.
Because I didn't notice anything
They've been like
major
slow.
on my...
Okay, so basically it's like a new home screen, and you can kind of, so you have like a widget for your battery, a widget for your friends, a widget for your screenshot, trophies. There's things where Sony will try to sell you things like here's the store page.
I mean,
and here's
Xbox
what's going
does that
on,
too.
Your wish list thing. The reason I put this on there is because I think PlayStation's UI features are largely useless. The thing where you hit the guide and you try to use that to help you is like.
What do you mean? Like
So like with like achievements and stuff.
Oh sure.
Like
I don't know.
I feel like those.
I think Xbox's is much more streamlined and easy to use, but I do think PlayStation.
I just think there's a lot of things within PlayStation's home menu and dashboard, button thing that just like are widely unused and unnecessary. And I think like the new home experience is cool. It's really like. It is a lot like Xbox's dashboard. Here you can set up your tiles and how big they are.
Oh, sweet. Okay.
And you can remove, you can remove the store widget so you don't have things getting advertised. You can remove the friends thing or the multiplayer messaging things that involve multiplayer.
Right.
You can just have screenshot your PlayStation controller battery life and your trophies, and that's it. So it's really highly customizable, but again, Sony isn't updating that PlayStation UI set all that often.
Right.
So I think when they do, it is kind of a big deal.
No, for sure.
But again, I think there's a lot of PS5 stuff, just like sort of like I would say similarly to like what's going on with the DualSense and the fact that like no developers are utilizing that thing 100%.
Oh, well, like the haptic feedback, yeah.
Not even the haptic feedback, but just like everything the DualSense can do.
Well,
the things that Astrobot are doing that no one else is using.
Sure, I
the
think
blowing into your controller,
yeah,
or like
the speaker,
like
yeah,
even the cheesy shit.
No,
not even the speaker, but just like I don't know, like.
Well, that's how that works. Like that's how the blowing works is through the speaker.
Oh yeah. I thought you meant things coming out of it. Yeah.
But I do wish more games even use that. Like Resident Evil 2 used that. I really liked all the stuff came through that that was on your walkie-talkie. I agree. I think it's just, when you're making a game for every single console, especially, it's tough to focus in on that. Whereas you only really do see it taken full advantage of within like a first party Sony game for the most part. And even those aren't super noticeable. I agree. I would like to see people take more advantage of that. I would like to see them both get redesigns when it comes to Xbox and PlayStation's controllers. I mean, they all seem to run into issues. It is funny.
You really haven't been thrown through the gamut in terms of controllers lately.
I
mean, even I had issues with both my Xbox controllers, but
my red PlayStation one, I don't know what, maybe it happened in the Move, but like it has severe drift now, like out of nowhere. I don't remember it being that bad, but yeah, just they need to fix that up. And
yet you want to buy the 30th anniversary.
I know, literally. Like I'm like, that looks pretty good.
Like you're ready to just
and that's
dump
why
$70 on it or whatever.
I'm only buying basic controllers now. I'm not buying elite controllers of any kind, just because there's no point.
I've never been a mark for those.
Well, my girlfriend got it for me for Christmas 2 years ago, and it was great. It's noticeably denser and like feels better, but then the right bumper breaks. Like that's a $120 controller. It broke in a year. What am I doing here? I don't know. And I get, I'm using it every day. I realize that. But maybe build up some better controllers. I'm sure you can buy some like wild third party, like rugged ones. off like Amazon and things like that. But I don't know. Anyways,
now let's talk about the state of play. What did you think about the most recent state of play? Like just general thoughts. We're not going to talk about it all. We're gonna hit the highlights, and then we're gonna get the hell out of here.
I thought it was fine. I didn't think it blew me away or anything. I don't think it was like super disappointing by any means.
I've been going into state of play with a much different mind. I think my goal of a state, or what I think a goal of a state of play is, does it have a diverse set of games that appeal to a lot of people, and usually for the most part they do. I think this state of play does exactly that. Is there anything super exciting here that we didn't already know about? Not really, except for Ghost.
I was going to say I put an asterisk on Ghost just because obviously we knew another game was coming, but we didn't know exactly how that they were going to take it. So I do think Ghost pushes it over I think it's
the edge a little bit
for sure, because I think that is like you said, you're hitting the stripes for everyone, and that is the big AAA reveal that we just haven't had in a bit from them. Like you said, Sony's been super quiet because they just can't.
Sucker Punch has been, since the Iki Island DLC came out for that, like we haven't heard from Sucker Punch.
Nothing on Wolverine too, considering that entire game.
That's
leaked.
Insomniac.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I know. I'm just saying, like beside that.
Oh yeah,
yeah, like just like a AAA game.
First party games that are like looming. Yeah.
So it's interesting for sure, but overall I think it was pretty good, especially with the yotai. Is that how you say it?
Yotai. Yotai. I think I would assume Yotai.
Yeah, I would assume Yotai as well. I love Tsushima.
Yeah, first up we have the Astrobot DLC. Not really need to talk about this too long. Like we kind of knew this was coming, but I think that it's coming this soon is pretty good.
It's cool. Challenge maps, right?
Yeah,
like speed running maps almost.
We talked about it in our review.
Yeah,
it's like it's the leaderboard stuff. I don't know if they're adding trophies or anything with it.
I'd love to see them put in a co-op mode
it's free.
Of some kind. Yeah, that's cool.
It's free. Just because of the recent lawsuit, I thought the POW world coming to PS5 was so interesting.
It is funny.
Meanwhile, Nintendo is suing, the POW world devs
for it's for copyright issues though, right? It's not necessarily it's not for.
I don't know the
ins and outs.
Ins and outs of the lawsuit, but I assume it's just because POW world is a lot like Pokemon.
Sure.
They're like finding what they can get there. Yeah. Legacy of Kain remastered. We knew about this for a while. Do you have any affinity with Soul Reaver?
It's a game I hear about all the time.
It's Amy Hennig's first game.
I'm not familiar with it really.
Yeah, neither am I.
Yeah,
so that doesn't really do much for me. Does Lego Horizon do anything for you, Trio? We got to see this again.
No, but what
are you thinking about?
It's just so confusing.
What do you mean?
Lego Horizon. I don't know.
Why Lego Horizon?
Why Lego Horizon? I guess it is.
Why? Because Sony wants you to play Horizon. A lot of people, and we'll talk about this with the Zero Dawn remaster.
It looks fun in the way.
That's really
it looks very fun in the way a Lego game should look. Don't get me wrong. I think it looks well made, and it's interesting that they're re-exploring everything. And I guess this is a way to get maybe some Nintendo folks to go oh, what's this? Maybe, there's a full nother game. I'll go check it out. But yeah, PlayStation's full bore on Horizon, which it sold very well. I don't want to take that away. It did. The game does very well. The first game did very well. The second game did extremely well.
I just don't think people care as much about Horizon as Sony wants them to.
For sure, I agree.
And I think that's kind of the issue here. It's
and I don't think Aloy is a super compelling character. I don't know.
No, Sony is just pushing all their Horizon chips in front of you, so you have no choice but to pick one up.
And there's a multiplayer game that they're doing too.
Yeah,
an MMO.
And a movie or a show or some shit.
So that's in the can for now. Well, it's not in development at Netflix anymore, but I could see them trying to take that somewhere else because that was to do with something with the showrunner or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about on Astrobot that we kind of need more whimsical games like this, and I guess this isn't our answer, but in a way that I don't really want.
It doesn't resonate necessarily. Yeah. I agree. I completely agree.
Alan Wake 2 is getting another DLC called The Lake House. That's going to be with
it's control themed, right?
Yes, because you're playing as the FBC agent played by Janina Gavankar.
Oh, right.
Estevez, Agent Estevez. So you're playing as her. So
I still need to play the New Game Plus mode.
Did you play the DLC for Alan Wake?
No, not yet. So I think that might be an October time thing. Yeah.
So let's talk about Horizon Zero Dawn's remastered remaster that's coming at the end of the month, and it's just like, oh my God.
So this is much.
Oh
so
God.
Can I at least?
Do we really need this?
I'm gonna give.
Why are we doing this?
Don't take out your knives. I'm gonna give him a tiny bit of credit on this one.
Oh God.
I thought this was a full-on, like, from the ground up $60 remake that they were gonna try and resell us. I'm fine with it just being a PS5 upgrade. That seems to actually do a pretty fair amount.
It actually
in the way of visuals. It's not.
It is, but they re-recorded lines.
Right, but it's, I'm sorry, in the way of that it's being sold. Like, it's a $10 upgrade if you have Horizon Zero Dawn on PS4.
Yes.
Which, I'm fine with that. It's a $10 upgrade.
Right, they did that with The Last of Us Part 2.
And they seem to do a... Oh, did they really?
I'm pretty sure, right?
I thought that was like a completely separate...
No, I thought it was a $10 upgrade.
Interesting.
I think
for Last of Us Part 2.
Yes, not one.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So that's fine with me.
Again, it's just like I don't want to be fed Horizon Zero or Horizon.
I
like Horizon. I buy Horizon. I play Horizon. I just don't think it's this incredible Sony IP that Sony wants us to think it is.
I completely agree with you. And again, if this was more akin,
I won't be getting this.
I completely agree.
I don't know if I'll ever play this.
Yeah, if I don't know if I'd ever go back and replay Horizon Zero Dawn. If I were, I think I would pick up the $10 upgrade.
Oh yeah,
but like I don't have any.
To.
Yeah. But like I don't see. I've never been compelled to replay that game.
You haven't even played Zero Dawn or Forbidden West.
I started it.
Oh, you do have it.
So I played it on PlayStation Plus when I had it for a month, and I started the first half an hour, and it looked great. But I couldn't get into it. It just wasn't captivating me. That was actually when I was playing, what's the other one? The shooter. It starts with an R. You're killing all the monsters.
Resistance?
No, and it resets every time you die.
Returnal,
which I'm going to buy soon, actually. I'm going to actually purchase that outright because I need to finish it. I never finished it before I canceled my PlayStation Plus. But, yeah.
Stellar Blade is doing a Nier collab. And
photo mode. The Gooners are out and
dude,
I
would like. This is disappointing to me. I'm not a Nier fan, so this just doesn't speak to me, and neither are you.
Sure.
And I think we were talking about this. I was like, I would just like to see a Stellar Blade story DLC. Like, I don't want this collab. Like, here's some outfits and the better, more photo mode stuff. I'm like, I think there's an opportunity to do more narrative content with Stellar Blade. I don't think this is it.
But do you think? Well, see, I don't.
This is for the Gooners, you're right.
This is for the Gooner, but it's also just I don't know. I think this is just this is just a miniature update that comes with some free stuff. This isn't DLC. I think what you're talking about can still easily come.
If they did that and then teased that something more is coming, I would have been like, oh, awesome.
Right. I think this is just kind of free content drop.
But we may not get a Stellar Blade DLC. That's kind of what I'm inferring.
I'd actually rather them honestly just move on to Stellar Blade 2 if that's what they're thinking of doing next or something like that, rather than get DLC. In my opinion. Would I like to see some DLC? Sure. I really enjoy that game. But yeah, the photo mode's out. They added new jiggle physics to her tatas. They squeeze together now. Very important stuff. It's like the horses pooping in Red Dead. These are what we live for.
And the dick shrinkage, right?
And the dick shrink. Correct. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
The balls get smaller. Yeah. In cold weather.
Yep.
This is what we play video games for. It's why we're here.
Immersion.
This
is why I'm buying the PS5 Pro.
Yes, exactly. So I can goon all night long. I still don't know what exactly that means.
You don't?
I know it's sexual.
It just means you're jerking off.
I see.
You're
continuously it's edging. Is that edging?
I yes, but climaxing.
I see.
So no.
Oh God.
Gooner's gonna goon.
Oh man, when are they gonna start saying the word from Flash that they use in the real time? Where they go oh that's so shui or
shui.
Oh man, that's shui.
Yeah.
They are just all made up words. It is so funny.
I don't think shui and gooner are quite necessarily in the same category, but you keep
no, of course they're definitely different types of words, but they're in the way of they're just made up.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It's kind of like saying no cap.
Yeah, exactly.
We should not be saying no cap.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Almost 30-year-olds.
Absolutely.
So we have some more controllers on the way, Trio, and more PlayStation 5 plates. The PS5 Chroma collection looks cool. Looks a lot like some of the colors Xbox has.
I kind of want to get some black plates for my PlayStation because the console does look so much better with black plates, in my opinion, from what I've seen.
See, there's something about me that kind of like I like the default look. You know, I like the.
I would love to like maybe even get them painted in some way.
See again, but then I would want just like to buy another white set, so I have like, the default look.
Maybe I can get Emma to paint like a Green Lantern symbol on mine. Anyways, thinking out loud.
Good idea,
right? Something like that. Because that is the nice thing about those. You can just take them off. You'd have to probably treat them again with some type of primer. But I'm thinking now. Anywho, let's move on. The chroma, I think those look good. They do.
Yeah,
I
like the one looks exactly like my Stellar Shift controller for Xbox, and I just saw that, and I was just like, you know, like I kind of like.
If they made
I always feel like
green one, I'd take it.
PlayStation's controllers are just always like a step down in terms of what's available in terms of colors and stuff.
Especially in terms of customization.
From Xbox, yeah.
It's funny. I think they are a bit of a toss-up as to which one I like better now. I still think I do like Xboxes like feel better.
But again, this is like not something I would put in a state of play. This to me means it's like we don't have a ton, so we're going to put this in to fill some time.
I agree.
And
you don't need, and honestly, with everything else, I just don't even think you need it.
Right.
Really, like looking at everything. So, all right, let's move on here to the last, but not least, the new Ghost game from Sucker Punch, Ghost of Yotei. We are officially moving into an anthology direction with the Ghost series, which, how do you feel about that?
I'm fine with it. You know, I didn't like what we were gonna do. Ghosts, like I knew the Ghost of Tsushima sequel was going to be Ghosts of Another Name.
Same. That's my
they were not. We're not going to stay on Tsushima for another game. I don't think that makes sense in terms of the progression of a video game. Not necessarily narratively, just the progression of a video game.
Very true.
Like we're gonna get a different map. We're gonna get a different area.
We don't want to Spider-Man
be different characters. Right. We don't want to Spider-Man it. So, but I kind of figured it would be with Jin Sakai again. So
that was kind of my assumption.
The fact that we're getting a new protagonist with a similar vibe in is it the 1650s?
I think so. I'm gonna look
you know, we are 400 years like in the future,
and that's more like proper samurai time apparently. Like I think technically, Jin's I don't think they had like samurais as they're shown in Tsushima at that time in the game. It predates them a tiny bit, but they took a little bit of historical like leeway.
Right. We're not Last Samurai territory, but we're in the middle of like the peak of samurai culture, I guess.
I think that sounds about right. Yeah. So it's set in 1603.
1603. Okay.
She's got to go talk to no, Ezio's dead. Yeah.
Yeah, Ezio's dead.
Beats Ezio. So yeah, she Ghost of Yotei centers around the theme of underdog vengeance. Story is set in 1603. Hokkaido, Japan. Players will take control of Atsu, a female warrior who adopts the persona of the ghost. She is voiced by Erika Ishii.
Yeah, she plays Valkyrie in Apex Legends.
That makes sense.
Yeah, she's not well known, but
she's a voice actor.
Known. Yeah.
A lot of vibes in the trailer for sure. It didn't give us a ton of gameplay, but
the guns
are in it, which is really
that
cool.
Was like the big like, oh, okay, like are we going to be able to use that? You know, how's that going to change gameplay? Obviously,
is this just turning into Assassin's Creed?
It does kind of feel like it, doesn't
right?
Like it does kind of feel like it's Sony's Assassin's Creed without the Assassin's Creed of it.
So, but do you think
which is what Assassin's Creed wants to be?
Sure, but no, it's well, I think this is more. It's like it's focusing on the samurai of it, where that used to focus more on the assassins of it. And like, I wonder if you, like I wonder if like how far can you get like if you're staying within this kind of framing. There's probably only so far you can take that concept then also. So I assume that this would maybe be a trilogy of games that they make and then maybe move on to something else after if I had to like think out loud about it.
Why trilogy?
A nice round number. I don't know. That's just, I feel like it makes sense to stop at a third. But it looks awesome from the little we saw. It was mostly, I think it's in-engine, it looked like trailer, but it mostly like
2025, right?
Yeah. Which makes sense. When did Ghost of Tsushima come out?
Oh.
Like 2018, right? Or actually...
No. It was probably announced in 2017. Ghost of Tsushima came out like it was revealed way early, and we heard nothing about it for a long time. Which I know you hate. But yeah, I don't know. Like I have nothing negative to say on this. I think this is like a pretty cool direction. Not doing the stereotypical sequel. and doing more of an anthology, something in the same universe or with the same themes, but totally different location and character, but still in Japan, I think is fine.
I'm with you.
We are continuing our trend of holy shit, there are so many samurai feudal Japan games. It's unfucking real.
It's so funny.
So like I think Ghost of Tsushima came out right when that started being a thing, and it's a very saturated market in terms of games in that setting.
It's so funny, Gooch, because I'm with you on that criticism. You've heard me talk about it multiple times before. But I think these games are so good and I enjoyed them so much that didn't even pop into my head when this was like being shown. Mm-hmm. So I think that's kind of a good sign for me, at least. Like, it didn't even occur to me. But it's true. That's a very poignant fact. And it's kind of annoying.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like this is the first game of Sony's future we are seeing. We don't really know what's coming up.
Yeah. We got some stuff out of the leaks that we can assume, but nothing official. Definitely. Yeah. So, I mean, dude, I'm pumped for it. I think, we had this discussion to talk about Sony just because more than anything, I think it's just a fun topic of discussion to get into it on these developers. And they're obviously half of the industry, a third of the industry. Honestly, I'd say they're even more than that now with, unfortunately, the way Xbox is going. But, yeah, it's been a weird...
Can't act like it's all positive. It wasn't.
Oh, no, it's not. Again, it's not. That's more of Xbox than I think. Like PlayStation, again, they fucked up majorly here in a lot of ways, as we've just discussed over this past hour. And I think in a different era, it would cause more of a seismic effect when it comes to console sales and the console intermixing. Not necessarily the game, like the industry itself, because it's definitely going to affect the industry and how games are made and things of that sort.
Yeah, it's just a shame that overall the video games, it's not looking good.
Like they've like, never made more money, but like the vibes are just terrible.
Yeah, the vibes
in
are
a
bad.
lot of ways. Yeah.
When that meme, it's totally over. We're back. It's totally over. We're back. We're totally like that meme actually inspired me. It's like when you brought that up, it's like, yeah, there is a lot with Sony going on that's probably worth talking about.
Like it was like Concord, State of Play, PS5, like all the stuff you listed here.
Yeah, the 30th anniversary.
It just felt like it really kind of all aligned. So I'm glad we did this.
Yeah, yeah. And I definitely think we should, once the Switch... I mean, we probably would have made this deduction once the Switch 2 got announced.
Right.
But doing a Switch 2 conversation, maybe bringing a Nintendo person on to sort of get that better perspective, somebody who's more versed with the that platform and those games.
Absolutely. That sounds like a great idea, man.
Yeah.
I'm here for it.
But also, guess what? I'm tired.
I am too. I'm hungry and tired, and my throat's kind of sore. Thank you all so much for watching with us live on twitch.tv/Delco Nerd Network. We really appreciate your time. You can find this podcast anywhere podcasts are found. Just search Delco Nerd Network on your form of choice. We're on all the social media pages as well, at Delco Nerds on everything with an @ sign. Facebook page, Discord channel. Please come hang out. All that good stuff will be linked down below. You can find this podcast anywhere podcasts are found. I already said that. You can find all this information on our website, DelcoNerdNetwork.com.
We're losing it.
And even email us your comments, questions, or concerns to DelcoNerds@gmail.com. We would be happy to get back to you. But for Gooch, I've been Trio. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay nerdy, and we will see you next time.